Hey, what's up, Trails Collective Nation? What's this? Wait a minute. What's this error occurred? Wait a moment, then try again. Nothing like errors to start the show. All right, we're live on one of those. Let's see. All right. Trails Collective World, what's shaking? Thanks for being on here with us tonight for the weekly rundown of what's shaking in the mostly Northeast trail running world, though we will dip a bit into the Western front, so to speak, with Black Canyon and bringing on a guest here in this episode. But thank you for being on with us here this evening. So in these episodes, we are shifting it up a little bit this year with the Trails Collective weekly rundowns and TC Live. For the past year and a half or so, I was able to weave in a number of voices each week from races that we're running and giving a bit of profile and showcase to a number of just awesome individuals in the Northeast trail scene. And also in doing so, hopefully provide some exposure to events that may not get the exposure otherwise on national media scenes. This year, we are doing it. I'm going to try to do it a little bit different, which hopefully makes it a little bit more sustainable and a little bit more fun for all you watching. We will do the interviews live, so we get the back and forth engagement, which will hopefully, just be a new flavor to it and makes it a little bit more sustainable for me without having to do all the back end editing. So thanks to all those who are tuning in this evening. If you are tuning in and watching this on my personal Facebook page, you can leave comments, but I may not see them in the moment. If you want to drop us comments into the feed for myself or the Matrix Lasagna and some of the guests, you can drop those comments into the Trails Collective live stream or the Trails Collective YouTube live stream. This will also be available later. Big thanks to friend Ellie Pell, who also turns them into podcast forms. So you will be able to find those wherever you catch your podcasts. And for sure, thanks to all of those who are supporting the Trails Collective so far. The number of people who have come on as Patreon supporters so far, even if it's just a few bucks a month, everything helps. And we will give a shout out, I guess, to a few of those and a little bit of love back to entities for Patreon supporters. One of them been the Kozaks. They have been out of Pennsylvania supporters from the get-go. They have been working to launch their own brand, the Idiot Runner brand, where they should be smart enough to know better, basically. But check out Idiot Runner, their Facebook page, more engagement there. They're looking for, and they've been putting out some products. Ben Drew is another big supporter. He has a site called The Wired Runner, where they do some product reviews there. So you can check out The Wired Runner. Ron Herkins is a photographer. Chris O'Brien has the Running Inside Out podcasts. Any number of these entities show them a little bit of love as well. And thanks in return for giving it back. So this evening, or in this episode, whenever you're catching it, we're going to take you through some of the events that ran this past weekend, some of the events in the Northeast that registrations are live and about to sell out, things coming up. And then we're going to dive into some feature events. I think we've got 4 of them tonight. We'll bring on guests from those events. They will be the Duck 100K and Algonquin 50K. They'll be the T.W.O.T Winter Edition. They will be the Frozen Snot 8.3 and 13.5 milers, and also the Black Canyon 100K. And we'll see how it goes, maybe like 20 minutes per each of those events, digging in with the individuals. We'll have Matt Lipsey, the Matrix Lasagna, here with us from the get-go and through the episode, and we will close out with him, and hopefully Zach Miller will be on as well to talk about how the Frozen Snot went down this past weekend. So we'll try to get to that last segment, maybe around like 8:40 or 9 or so. And then we'll try to close it up from there. So thank you. Thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for liking our channels. Thank you for sharing them in your own feeds. Any amount of support helps. So thank you for that. All right. So we're just going to get into it. I will go through some of this rundown. Matrix Lasagna, always welcome to jump in, whether it be somebody he just feels should have a nickname, some event that maybe sounds ridiculous, but just hopefully no cat meows in the episode would be helpful. So let's get into it. And I know we got Dave Harlow in the queue. I see him in the back end. Dave, thanks for being on. We will pull him through as we talk about T.W.O.T here in just a few minutes. So Yeah, let's get into it. So the Ultra Sign Up Hot List, these are events that are open just for you to check out, keep on your radar, that are about to cap out or sell out. So if you want in on any of these, now would be the time to do it. Enchanted Forest 6-hour running April 23rd in Stratford, Connecticut, 91% full. Fire in the Rocks 10K running March 12th in Meckelhattan, PA. Am I saying that right, Matrix? Is that Meckelhattan?
Yeah, Meckelhattan. You got it.
Meckelhattan. I was a little off, but Meckelhattan. PA is up 6% to being 98% full. That should close out, I would think, by the weekend. Classic, one of Horton, I think one of Horton's races early on. Holiday Lake 50K plus 25K, 50K running February 19th in Appomattox, Virginia. Right here on deck is probably 92% full now. Grayce and Highlands 50 mile in Mount of Wilson, Virginia. 96% full. This is one with I voted one of the more scenic events in the Northeast. And when I broke it down state by state, you can find that article on the Trails Collective site under the feature articles. And I did give a nod to one of Blanton's events here. Probably the most inaccurate distances of any events that I've seen out there in terms of what they claim on distances. I think the 50 mile is probably actually like 44 miles or 46 miles or something like that. But it sure is a scenic event. So check that out. And then Belmonte endurance races, 25K, 50 mile running in Lyndhurst, Virginia is 92% full. Registration is about to open. So if you want to catch them, this is what's coming up. Mountain Lakes Backyard Ultra, last person standing, running June 17th in North Salem, New York. WXT Ultra 50K running October 29th in Hopewell Township, New Jersey. The Grafton 15K running April 23rd in Grafton, New York. And the Frosttown Trail Festival 10K, 25K running May 28th in Naples, New York. They are all registrations that I think are about to open this weekend, and at least they are an Ultra sign up. There are some races that I just don't catch on Run Sign Up and some of the other platforms, which make digging a little bit tougher. But check those out. All right. One thing in the shop's been kind of quiet. We were supposed to have a bunch of new releases, some cool trail models that we're supposed to release this spring. But the COVID and supply chain stuff has just actually derailed a lot of new releases and a bunch of them pushed back. So hang tight. We'll get in some of those shoes soon. Something that did come in that Ellie just brought me into town today. We got a bunch of these Trails Collective singlets made up for some of the runners that we supported heading out to Bandera. So they are singlets here. I think I've got like 40 of them. So if you are interested in
weight? What's the weight on something like that? Is that like 0.005 grams? I mean, that stuff looks like mithril. That looks nice.
It is. It actually is quite light. And I was actually tempted to just hop off here and let you entertain the crowd for a minute. And I was actually going to go weigh it for you. But I'll get back to you on that and just know that it is actually really.
Yeah, it even folds up in your pocket. So when you're like, oh, it gets too hot, you just fold up in your pocket.
Like if you're Ben Nephew and you're like, I don't even know why I started with a shirt on, or like Adam Chase out there.
Yeah, Adam Chase.
I don't know why I'm wearing this shirt.
This might be a shirt that Adam Chase would wear because it would feel like you're not wearing a shirt.
That's a good point. I saw you make a comment on his post earlier. I think the same thing where the man's, well, he's getting old now. He's wearing a shirt sometimes, but to your point, yes,
he's just saying that.
A very light singlet. So if any of you out there want to sport a Trails Collective singlet going into the season, well, you know where to get them. And then, that's what's going on. All right, so let's dig into some of the results. I will just make a mention of a few here that we don't have guests on tonight, but I'll just mention them. The Mid-Maryland Trail Festival 50K went down to Elkridge, Maryland. They had 80 finishers with wins from Patrick Blair and Yana Fridrikova. Yana was a minute off her personal best, third fastest time on the course in 4:25. Yana, I managed to somehow stay ahead of her at Promised Land this past year by a few minutes, but she put me in my place come Hellgate. So she is tough and pretty consistent. So nice work there, Yana. And you looked fresh as a daisy when you passed me late in the game at Hellgate. So good stuff. The Squatchy Onesie Fest 5K marathon. The 5K went down to Mawa. 5K marathon. I think when I first heard about this one last year, like I didn't quite get it. I didn't get the 5K marathon thing, and I didn't realize that was just a common thing for people to talk about, where they'd be like, "I'm doing a 5K marathon," and I didn't know what they were talking about. I guess it's a thing.
That's what your coworkers ask you on Monday. You come in and they're like, "Hey," they like you told them you're doing a marathon, but they have no idea what you're talking about. Or you told them you're doing a 5K, and they just say, "Hey, how was a 5K marathon?" And sometimes they don't know what they're talking about, but they're trying to be sportive, and like I think it's great. It's about time a race was named the 5K marathon. So
They were ahead of their time. They were ahead of my understanding. So yeah, they were on it. So that's the Sasquad runner crew. Got their beanie back here, sporting it. They had 131 finishers this year. The course records were set by Ross Charles Winders. Ross Charles Winders. That's kind of a nice name. It sounds very high class.
Rolls off the tongue. Yeah. Can you say it again? Can you say it again?
Yes, I can. Ross Charles Winders.
Oh wow, that is proper.
Yeah, course record.
Regal. That's
and then Paige Buzzard or Buzzard, I think. There also for the course record. So there's that. So nice work to Ross and Paige, and their numbers were back up for the Squatchy Onesie Fest. So after a little bit of COVID lull, so nice work there. And then the Frigus Snowshoe Festival, that's a pretty nice name, Frigus Snowshoe Festival in Gansevoort, New York, and the Frosty Loomis snowshoe race that went down in the Ithaca area also this weekend. So all right. So now let's get into it. I am going to bring in Dave Harlow. Dave, man, how's it going?
Hello, how are you?
Good, dude. Thanks for being on it. And if he's able to log on as well, there should be Eric. Oh, we got him. That boy. Eric Harris as well.
Hi, good evening, guys.
Hey, thanks for being on, fellas. And I don't think that I've met either of you, so it's a pleasure to meet you. And then on with us here as well is he goes by many names. The core name is Matthias Lipschitz, but the name on here is Matrix Lasagna.
Gotta keep them guessing. Keep them on their toes.
Gotta keep them on their toes. Yeah. Though I imagine for both you, Eric and Dave, there's not a lot with being on the toes at the moment. I imagine coming off the T.W.O.T winter edition that was a bit of a beatdown that you're still somewhat recovering from.
For sure, yeah. Especially those last 8 hours in the snow. Going into Sunday morning, coming down off the top ridge, I think we had about 6 inches of heavy wet snow up there. So those were some painful feet.
And they were both in. So for those, I know we've got some people on who are familiar with the T.W.O.T, but the T.W.O.T is the Wild Oak Trail Run. This is one that I think I myself just learned about a couple of years ago, and I feel very much inadequate or not tough enough to go experience the T.W.O.T for myself. And they've got a winter and a summer edition. Winter running in February, and the T.W.O.T is a little bit. And this is for those of you who haven't caught it. This is also one that I've ranked one of the toughest for sure per mile in the Northeast and some in the country when you really break it down. When you consider this is basically the T.W.O.T uses a 25-ish. What is it, like 25.45, something like that?
28 per
loop? It's 28. Oh, yeah, that's right.
About that.
Okay. So like a 28-mile loop and about 7,000 feet of gain, or what do you guys have? 7,500 feet of gain per each loop. And then you've got the loop options of either 1 loop, 4 loops, or 8 loops. Is that kind of the going rate?
That's right.
And so in addition to being run in the bowels of February, you also have it just being in the mountains of Virginia. And it has some pretty crazy conditions. And on top of that, it is, you've got, so I was about to say it doesn't have course markings, though I guess you've got the trail markings on the Wild Oak Trail, but no supplemental markings. You've got no supplemental aid. You don't have some cush aid stations out there to rely on. There's no pacers per se. There's no crews. You're pretty much on your own to, well, that's kind of what it's about. And it's kind of like a fight club where it's a little bit like you're out here for yourselves to just beat yourselves down. And it's not one that you're really out there you're not out there for the finisher's medal. You're not out there for the glory. You're not out there to really even celebrate it per se. And it makes it pretty raw in all regards. So I just looking into both of you guys, and I'll shut up here in a second. Eric, you've got some longer chops historically. You've a couple rounds of the 100-mile at T.W.O.T or the 4-loop historically at T.W.O.T. Massanutten and some in your background. UTMB, I think 1 year. Dave, for you, some longer efforts, but you've been kind of more in that mid-range. I think you had at least one 100-miler in there.
A couple, yeah. 2 100-mile finishes and ran 100 miles at a 40-hour race before this.
Oh, yeah, I did see the 40-hour. Okay, yeah, as well. So, I mean, this is just Burley no matter how you cut it, but I guess, and you guys can roll with what feels good here, but I guess tell us a little bit about why T.W.O.T? I mean, you guys are very, at least for, I think both of you, is Eric, you've done a bunch of West Virginia trilogies as well, I think,
Right.
and hovered in that West Virginia territory. So there's definitely a strong community down there around the Happy Trails, as well as some into the West Virginia scene. But what really drew you guys to T.W.O.T and that level of beatdown?
Well, let me just say my hat's off to Dave for a fantastic finish over the weekend with kind of that epic snow coming down. And it can get quiet out there when you're by yourself and bringing it home with very little fanfare. I think we had Guy Towler there at the end to kind of welcome him back, and then back into a cold car and off he went. So hats off to Dave. I would say in one of the things that you haven't mentioned is the sheer beauty of the loop. The Wild Oat Trail is it's in the heart of God's country, right in George Washington National Forest. And what kind of draws a number of really talented runners to it, I think, is really the history of the run. We get our chops from Dennis Herr, the founder of the event back in the late 80s. And these were the guys that were, doing all this before, certainly before we were doing it. And that gave way to some really legendary efforts from Eric Clifton, who was just recently inducted into Ultra Running Hall of Fame, to Eva Paslikova, who's a really pronounced female runner, Kathleen Kusick, who we all know has put some really killer times down there. Dave Frazier, a local runner, has the fastest loop. And so really this is kind of a place to come out and test oneself against some really talented East Coast runners. And put your own time and if you dare to kind of put forward. And then I would say the loop itself is just really an ultra running dream. I mean, it has everything you'd want. It has the climbs, it has the technical, it has the descents. You're nestled in this bowl of mountains that's really second to none. It's one of the nicest mountain ranges on the East Coast. And then, of course, lastly, I'd say the soul of the race. The race directors themselves, we have to tip our hat to Antoinette Landergen and Guy Towler, who have really kept the run to its core, and that is, in simple, keeping it wild. And that there's a lot of different events out there that have, as you've said, they have, a lot of aid, and, you can have your pacers and you can have a wholly different experience. But this really gives you a unique opportunity to put yourself out there and see what you can do really on your own. And we, really appreciate kind of the keeping the soul of the event the way it's been since the late 80s. And so collectively, that's kind of what it really makes it a very unique experience. Not to mention it's a donation-based event. You're now writing a simple essay to get in to prove your merit, that you have the capability to do the loop, if not loops. And so collectively, it makes for a really unique experience.
Mm-hmm. And Dave, anything on that front? I mean, were you kind of going in with the same draw toward just like the history and the community?
For sure, yeah. The history of it and the beauty of the trail, like Eric said, but also just the atmosphere. I mean, the first year I went, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know any kind of Virginia runners, and was just blown away by the atmosphere and the camaraderie. The fireside atmosphere, sitting in the parking lot, with people who have finished or people who have dropped, and the race directors and telling stories. I mean, that was just great. I was really looking forward to the idea at the end of my race of getting done in time, that people would still be there, and I would sit around the campfire and revel in the glory of it. But instead, it was 6:40 in the morning on Sunday, and the campfires were long gone, and no one was there but Guy. So.
And that was into your, and what Eric had mentioned earlier, is you got some snow up on the ridges there. But if I remember watching the video as you were coming in, it was just like wet, cold, rain, early morning. And him just sitting there. And so that's, I don't know, I guess for you, did that enhance it all the more? I mean, I guess to a certain extent, that's what you're out there for, is that sense.
It did. So I'd had 2 attempts at the 4 loop before, and really, I mean, we had the snow this year, which was rough, but also the weather was just good enough. So in previous years, it's been frigid enough where all the water I was carrying froze, and I had no water until I got off the loop, So this year, although it was cold and wet and snowy, the temperatures were right about 30 degrees. So, my water bottles didn't freeze. So it was kind of like that perfect mixture of bad weather that makes for a good story, but not so bad that it makes for a bad race.
Mm-hmm. And for you, and so you were the 4 loops, Eric, you finished the 8 loops?
I finished 8 loops in October. I had an injury that knocked me out after 6 loops this past time.
Okay. And it was you and I sorry, I should have delved deeper, but it was you and John that were kind of going out on the 8 loop this year?
John and I, we it was the 2 of us that started on Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm. And then John make it through? Did he go 8, or did anybody go the distance this year?
Nobody went the distance this year. So he pulled out after a loop and some change. But I mean, John is a total stud. We were reminded, John has nothing to prove to anyone. I mean,
totally.
Yeah. So it was a real pleasure to run with John for the time I did get to have to run with him. So.
And then, so for you, if he was there a little bit over 1 loop or so, I mean, that's a good 130 miles that you're out there on your own.
Yeah, 170 to be exact. But yeah, it was. And, the X factor in February, the original Wild Oak Trail, is the weather. And, last year I tried for the first time to go 8 loops and got stuck in a pretty significant blizzard at the end of loop 2. And it just basically covered the entire course in snow and ice for loop 3. You literally couldn't see the trail. And you're punching through each loop. So you just never know, particularly in February, what kind of weather you're going to get. And you're absolutely right. That's the beauty of it. I won't say that we were disappointed by the fair weather this over the last weekend, but certainly I think we were all prepared for something that could have been much different.
Yeah. And so that amount of time, I mean, especially because you're teetering on that freezing, what did it get down to overnight? How was it, around 30 or?
Yeah, it's like low 20s in the valley. And so you're going to get maybe 6-8 degrees, a little cooler on some of the peaks. So, mid-teens maybe. And of course, when you have 3 prominent mountains, 2 of them, you have the Little Bald and Big Bald, you get some really nice wind exposure. So you get some really nice howling wind up there, which can get a little chilly, perhaps bone chilling at times, but it's you pass through it and, put on whatever, a Houdini or, some sort of windbreaker, and off you go. So,
and a couple creek crossings out there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's predominantly the North River, but we're fortunate that we had a local runner, Andy Peterson, that put some nice stepping stones across the river now, so you can pop across it so long as it's not frozen.
Frozen, yeah.
And if so, then you just pop around the other way with an extra mile. So either way, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. And so for both of you guys being so solo out there in that effort, with such a burly effort, I mean, I guess like all ultra, and maybe that's the beauty of ultra, is transcending to a certain things. But sometimes you've got, I guess for better or worse, in terms of having somebody out there to like vent to. I mean, I guess if somebody's with you, sometimes it's not necessarily helpful because now you've got kind of that crutch to fall onto or whatever. When you're out there solo, it's a different game, but you guys must have had some pretty, I don't know, introspective points out there. I don't know. How about for you in terms of anything remarkable that each of you draw on to kind of pull yourself through those moments? Because again, I mean, that's a lot of personal time in a very challenging course.
Well, I guess to combat that kind of the loneliness of being out there for so long by yourself, I guess maybe I didn't want to run too big of a risk of crawling into my own head, So, I mean, I had lots of music and podcasts and audiobooks, but it was a lot more of just, I guess for me, staying, in the moment, staying focused on what I was doing and not getting too introspective maybe.
Mm-hmm. guess in that piece, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Eric. If
No,
want.
I think that's right. I mean, for me, all I can say is it's all about the running. So
Yeah.
I just try to enjoy the run, and the course really lends itself to, okay, I'm going to climb this mountain, I'm going to descend this descent, I'm going to cross over here, and the course is fairly technical, so you really do need to stay in the now, as Dave said, and that's really what you try to do. And of course, you're fussing, as with any ultra, you're fussing with, are you intaking the right amount, or is something rubbing? So you try to take care of yourself, particularly once you get past that 4-loop threshold. You really need to stay, healthy and clean to go the distance.
Yeah. So I guess on that sense, in terms of getting enough sustenance in, especially if your body is working to retain the heat over that just metabolic load over that long, when you don't have an aid station every 5, 7, even courses that are stretched out to like 9 miles. When you're going, how long did each, on average, what were your average loops and how long it took you?
My first, go ahead, Eric.
No, please, Dave.
Yeah. My first loop was 8.5, which maybe was a tad faster than it should have been. And I was getting usually about 11-ish, give or take 30 minutes faster or slower until my last loop. The last loop was probably sticking to about 11 hours until that snow hit, and that added about 3 more hours onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's similar. We, John and I got around it, sub 8 on the first one, and then kind of averaged out at 9-hour loops. I think I was 37.5 for the first 4 loops. And, as you say, you kind of get into the calorie. I mean, one of the tactics, if you will, is just you have your vehicle, for better or worse, in the parking lot. So that is your primary aid station. So for me, at least, that's just where you're just fueling like mad, trying to get as many calories in 30, 40 minutes while you're changing and, charging or addressing whatever issues you have. But just really, that's where you're bulking up most, at least for me, most of my calories is while I'm sitting in the car trying to get myself together for the next loop.
Okay. Yeah. And that was my guess too. Like for that long, you can only skimp so long, even if you are kind of fat adapted or whatever, however you look at that. But for every 8 hours, I mean, and you're assuming that you're, for the average person, trying to stay on target of about 300 calories per hour. I mean, out there for 8 hours, I mean, you got to, so did you, were you packing in your vest something pretty heavy? What was your, or to your point, Eric, maybe you were getting all the heavy stuff in at the end or start of each loop, but do you guys shift what you do from other ultras to get in something that's just really calorically dense that your gut will take out there?
I don't. I mean, the difference I have is I have a 2.5 liter bladder that I carry. Obviously, you're carrying a lot more clothes because you just never know on this loop. And then just bars and, sandwich and, maybe some chips and whatnot. It's just kind of snacking on it along the way.
Yeah.
But I mean, certainly if you're, the John Kellys of the world, you'd have your caloric intake down to the mile and the minute. And of course, he broke 24 hours on 4 loops. He's a total stud, but he has a different technique. I don't know if Dave does it differently, but I like to eat natural food and just kind of eat as I go when I get hungry, not too scientific about it.
Yeah, same for me. Real food, junk food for sure. But when I got to the parking lot or any of the road crossings with the supply drops, try to cram in 800 calories, and then just sort of supplement that with a few hundred more between road crossings or until the car. I think the biggest thing is also learning what real foods still work well in frigid weather and which ones just turn to a roofing shingle.
That's right.
Yep. How about for those that are, I guess I was about to say, for those who would be considering like the T.W.O.T, but then I caught myself. I was like, well, it doesn't seem like the T.W.O.T's really necessarily one that's about talking like your friends into per se. It seems like it's kind of like it is what it is. And like, if you find out about it and it appeals to you, then, maybe it's for you, but it's not, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that something you're like, hey, let's bring back more friends next year? Or is it something that's sellable in that regard? I mean, Eric, you just commenting, and you're right. I did shortchange and I remember seeing, I think looking at some of at least Kevin McCabe's pictures from last year, and like these ice laden chutes, like up there in the woods that were just in that crazy winter weather last year. Right. And so, right, in that beauty and some of the views, and it is pretty outstanding. But do you see it as something that could build in kind of that social sense and have friends out there? Or do you think most of the people out there are really for after that, like just solitary grind and just kind of being in that classic culture in that regard?
Absolutely. I think that it is a type of event that every ultra runner should experience. And it's not for everyone, but I think it's something that folks should experience. And it's a kind of, I don't know if it's a next level or a different level. I mean, it's not something that's going to be wildly promoted. It's not going to be an event that is, ringing in or raking in a bunch of cash and promotion and sponsors. And, we're not going to end up hopefully not end up like the Barclay and have camera crews out there. So if you're looking for fanfare and, elevating yourself in that regard, then perhaps it's not the place for you. But if you want to come out and test yourself against some of the best legendary runners on the East Coast and further, I mean, there's no better place to do it. And, have at it. I mean, it's 1 to 8 loops. I mean, you can just go nuts out there and just run free. And it's more than just the solitude. It's the culture of the event lends itself to a very unique experience. And you walk away, particularly if you are able to accomplish your goal, whatever that might be, it's very rewarding, as many of these, big runs are. But this one is uniquely positioned to do that because of its unique attributes. So the only thing I would say is one needs to be prepared for this event. So it wouldn't be something you would take lightly or just, do road runs for. There's a lot of climbing, and, there's a lot of opportunity to really hurt oneself physically or even mentally, not to mention getting lost. So you need to be prepared, and that's part of the culture. And I think I don't want to speak for Dave, but I think that's part of the attraction, is it does require a certain preparedness.
Do any of the prior finishers or that community kind of to reach out? Is there some connection when you guys are all out there and it's like, hey, like nice work, or people you haven't met, but you know of them being cores in the history of this event? I imagine it's kind of like a family.
You're absolutely right. And Dave, please jump in here. But I mean, I had a hell of a time after my 6 loops. Dennis Herr was out there, the man himself, the living legend. And we were able to talk about, and of course, he remembers every loop he's ever done and all the times and everyone else. But, I think the race directors still keep up with John Kelly, and that's how we got John Fegge out. And Kevin McCabe, as you mentioned, was coming out, but unfortunately his family got caught up in COVID. And so it really is that kind of familiar family atmosphere, if you will. Not everyone wants to be part of the T.W.O.T family, but certainly everyone's welcome. And for me, it's a very proud family to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same for me. Kind of not seeing everyone at other races in Virginia so often, just from being out of state, that it is kind of like a homecoming when I get to see Antoinette and Guy and several years I've seen Rob out there. One of my very first experiences at T.W.O.T was seeing John Kelly's finish when I was lined up to do my first one loop race. And he came running in about 15 minutes before the one loopers went out. So we're all standing around waiting to start, and he comes running in. So that was kind of like my introduction to this.
Cool. And what, so if people want to learn more, I mean, you mentioned it's the application process, and it's, I think it's awesome. I think where I have it listed in the Toughest Trail Races article on the Trails Collective site, I put, I think, whatever, I think it was maybe Dennis created, but like list of these 8 things where this is, if this is what it's about for, and I think that's awesome. And for those of you, very just vaguely referencing in there, but you can look up the Wild Oak Trail Runner T.W.O.T, and there's like these 8 things. Like if you're looking to write a race report on it, like don't come. If you're looking like whiners, don't come. If you're, whatever. And I don't know, it's cool. And I think that does, I don't know, anything that's basically, I think honing in on all of the things that probably make you not the best fit for this race is just kind of, I don't know, it's interesting.
In the end, it is hard. It is a hard event. So if you're looking for a hard event that leads you with a real satisfaction, I mean, look no further. So, yeah. Cool. You should come out yourself. We'd love to have you out.
Yeah, I mean, I should definitely go down and try to figure out the time to get down there and at least do the one loop. I feel much too soft for 100, and I feel like you're not totally committed, then that's going to make for a rough go in those later miles there. But should definitely come down and experience the one loop. And the other classics down there. I mean, my first race out of college was Massanutten. So I went from 8K to jumping into Massanutten, and I didn't finish, but like kind of that first exposure was down in that neck of the woods. And so with that, a classic or the ring. And I think that Eric, you've at least done the ring some. Dave, have you done the ring down there?
I have not. No. Not
okay.
Yet.
Yeah.
Another one of those cult classics in that same area, but definitely on the radar to get down and try to fit in at some point here. Yeah. What do you guys got coming up? Eric, I think I saw you're doing Tahoe 200 signed up for, or is that you, Dave, or somebody?
I'll do Bigfoot 200.
Bigfoot 200. That was it. Yep.
Yeah, I've got you mentioned it. I'm going for the MMT in May, so hopefully that'll go well. And then, duty calls back to the Wild Oak Trail, either October or next February. So hard to stay away.
Right on.
Right on.
Well, guys, thanks. Congrats on both awesome efforts. Thanks for joining us here to just talk about it just a bit. And hopefully I can get down there and share maybe at least one loop with you at some point.
No, and thank you so much for elevating the Wild Oak Trail. We're so grateful for what you do and what you've done. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guys are inspiring. So thanks so much. And so we will catch up with you next round, maybe.
Okay. All right.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Bye.
All right.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude. Next round, we're jumping into the we just went from like this really early, tough, awesome crew coming out of the trot.
I was thinking about this. Like you go through the stats of the T.W.O.T, which has been on my list. I want to do that race one day. I'm not ready for it yet. I've done Frozen Snot for 4 years. I know that race. It is gnarly. It is tough. And so we're going to talk about 100K that I just did that has less than 1,000 feet of gain.
Yeah, but it's got really crappy trails. I mean, I saw those
don't get me wrong. It is still very hard for different reasons. It's just interesting to smash us in between the T.W.O.T and Frozen Snot. And then you got me and this guy here. We're going to. That guy.
Yeah. Well, what is very consistent, though, these are these strong communities, these cult classic events. I think the first time maybe I had heard of Algonquin 50K at some point, but I think when I went down and did the Angela Ivory, I think fat ass a couple of years ago to visit some friends down there, I ran into any number of friends out there, or I shouldn't say friends, any number of people out there rather, that said they were just out there just training for Trent Swanson's Algonquin 50K. I kept hearing that time and time again. I was like, dude, who is this guy? What's this race all about? And I didn't even think there was that long of a trail in that part of the world in the Del Mar, but that they don't have trails there. I mean, they have maybe a 3 mile loop around a reservoir or something like that. But I mean,
No, we've got some pretty gnarly trail, like Grayce was saying. The trail's a little bit different than the elevation you'll see elsewhere, but make up for it with a lot of sand, a lot of mud, a lot of briars.
So much mud.
Yeah, some rocks, some adverse event. We were really upset this year because the weather was good. Unfortunately,
I know you had hot pants. I should, if I had it had the photo on the prepped, I would have had a photo of hot pants in all of her glory there. But yeah, and people were out there compared to last year. You're really outstanding weather that you brought entrance last year, which really brought home the prize last year. Yeah, people were out here in like t-shirt and like hot pants this year.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. The last year we had a 50% completion of the duck. And this year is a 93% completion, so you can see what weather can do. The trails that they ran
people like me finish.
yes. The trails that they ran on, had we had the ideal conditions, the success rate would have been less. These are trails that usually get flooded. They usually have water. They usually have snowy, wet, miserable conditions.
He says water. I've finished the Algonquin 50K for 3 years, and then I attempted the duck, DNF'd it last year, and then finished it this year. He says water as if in places like Pennsylvania we know what water is, but we don't understand what water is until you've been down to Delmarva area. It is thigh deep, just bogs. It's a quarter of a mile. It's not a quarter of a mile. I'm exaggerating, but it's really long ways of just washing through thigh deep puddles that are flanked by briars. Like it's an adventure.
It's an adventure. And Matrix, feel free to jump here anytime too. I don't want to keep occupying, keep talking. So feel free to take over if you want at any point. It's okay if not though.
He's doing Wordle right now. He's like, I don't know who these people are.
I don't know what his Wordle score is at this point.
Wordle? Is that a game people are playing now?
The game that people are doing? I don't remember. What's the game everybody's doing?
It's Wordle. You're right.
Yeah.
And did you see the Wordle the day of Algonquin?
No.
It was Ultra.
Segue. All right.
The 5-letter word for this word game that day was Ultra. When you have cold conditions, you have fires you need to put out. When you have hot conditions, you have fires to put out. We had 2 runners that pushed themselves to the limit. One was pushing for the ladies' course record, named Holly Smith. She won the last 2 years. This year, she was pushing herself to try to break the record. And with a half a mile to go, she just hit a terrible wall, had to walk. And another lady who ended up winning it, Maria Miller, who Ian's very familiar with, she came through, ran a very strong race. And Holly came through afterwards, second place. And, with heat, sometimes, you burn those matches too fast and it comes back to haunt you. And so everyone says, harsh conditions, but really the conditions are what you make them and what you push your body to take on. So, I know Matrix Lasagna has taken on like Heiner Challenge, and there you got like the mountains and the stream crossings there. Here we have flooded trails that you have to wade through for, half a mile, sand, deep, soft sand. So people want a course where they say, we don't want it to be cold. We want it to be warm, but the warmer it is, the softer the sand and the deeper the sand. So there's no relief from the Algonquin 50K. It's flat, but that's about it. So
for those, we jumped right into bringing you guys on. So I'm assuming most people that are with us right now know maybe what's going on, know what's up, but should have backed up there in the beginning to say, we have with us here tonight to weigh in on this segment. We have Trent Swanson. He is the RD of a number of events and somewhat of the ringleader down in a awesome trail community down in the Delmarva. The event this past weekend, one of them with one of his partners in crime, Gabe. It starts with the Duck 100K, which is basically a 50K, right? That starts Friday night at midnight. Is it a midnight start?
It depends. Whenever Gabe wants him to start, pretty much, right, Grayce? Usually
It's 9 o'clock. This year it changed to 10 o'clock. And literally, I'm at the start line. I'm like, Gabe, how much time do we have? Because he changes it every year. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right. This year you have 8 hours. So last year we had 9 hours. So, yeah.
So and we'll maybe get into it here more in a second. So that is the duck. So it starts overnight, and then it basically segues into Trent at the helm for the Algonquin 50K the next morning. And so the combination add up to the duck and Algonquin 50K. And Grayce, Hot Pants Langheine on here. Last year was your first year, or had you had multiple tries and fails, so to speak?
Last year was my first attempt at the duck. Yep.
Yeah. And had you done Algonquin before that?
Yeah, I did Algonquin 3 years prior for 3 consecutive years, and then DNF'd. I finished the first half of the duck, and then I DNF'd at mile 15 at the second half. And then finished the duck this year. So this is my 5th year heading there. And I will say this is the first year I had to miss Frozen Snot. Because usually they're on different weekends, and this year they were on the same weekend, and I was really bummed. But I finished Frozen Snot 4 times before, so I had to go for the duck this year. I don't know what I'm going to do next year, but that was a tough decision.
I wonder if you'd be the only person in that field, though, that would be equally considering Frozen Snot and Algonquin.
Yeah. I know not a lot of us, and although there are a few Pennsylvanians who head down to Algonquin, I had some of my friends with me. Lacey Playa, she took a nap with me ahead of time. Which is her
last name really Playa?
No, that's just what I call her. She's my
Playa.
Good.
Yeah, all right, good. All right.
And I had Becky and Jill with me. I also had my friend Trish. She wasn't able to make it. So there's kind of a crew of us who head down from Roxylvania to test ourselves at what it's like to run on flat land, because we're not used to that. But yeah, not a lot of us up here. So a lot of folks from probably Trent could speak to this better than I could. You had some people from California even this year.
Yeah, we had like 4 or 5 people from California. I was looking at the finishers rate with the for the women. The first place was from Maryland. Second place was from Delaware. Third place was from Alabama. And for the men, we had Maryland, Delaware. Delaware first place, Maryland, and Maryland second and third, and then fourth place was, I believe, Vermont, and fifth place was Ohio. So we didn't have any Pennsylvania runners in the top 5.
We don't know what to do with ourselves when it's flat. We have to run the whole
flat. I'm not sure they can.
Weird.
Yeah, I know. I'm just wondering if they can run on flat terrain. I know you guys can run on the hills, but
yeah. And
no, we have people from New York, Pennsylvania. Virginia is really popular. And for some reason, there was like 3 people from Michigan. I have no idea why.
Seems like Michigan would have some similar terrain, though. Some pretty soggy conditions and some not necessarily a lot of climbing. Maybe you should do all tons of Facebook sponsored marketing plugs in the Michigan radius.
We should. It's really, Grayce kind of pointed to this, but it's really an ugly trail. There's really not much to it. Soggy, miserable. Nothing beautiful.
I go there for the aid stations. They have cake. They have cake in the aid stations.
They do have cake. Yeah. Smith Island cake. It's a 9-layer cake. And get your mug if it doesn't get smashed at the end.
Yeah. So what's it? All right. Yeah. So do you make the mugs?
I don't personally, but we actually have a local artist here in town, lives about 10 minutes from where I live. That's 9 layers. Yeah. LA. Some do 7, but we always go for the 9. So the mugs, if someone DNFs, we take their mug from the table and we walk over to a little cement square and we smash it. So we smashed a bunch of mugs this month, this year. So and then if they come in after the 8 hours, if we don't pull them by the last aid station, they come in and get an unofficial finish. So they still get their mug. But if we pull them at one of our cutoffs, then they get a and then we open. Yeah. So and then we just break it. We break a lot of mugs. There's a lot of sadness and despair.
He says that. And I tell you what, there are so many people. It's like they take photos of their broken mugs. If there's something that Trent and Gabe do really well, it's their social media. I mean, it is really just this great group of people who get excited about Algonquin the entire year. And that's one of the reasons to do it. And then you get there and you feel like you already know everybody. So people get a smashed mug and it sounds so sad, but people they keep these things and they take photos of them and they have their stuffed animals next to them and then they bring them back to the next race so they can finish it. It's really an inspirational thing to see. And I think it helps. There's training runs for the Algonquin. So Trent has training runs and really tries to make it very welcoming. He's not very good about, you should pay me for this, Trent. I'm talking up all of your races. So he's got, every year he sits right around that 51% female for the Algonquin. And I think he really makes this race non-threatening, very, not too intimidating, very doable. Come on in, you're going to feel welcome. It's okay if you don't know anybody, we'll take care of you. And we'll make sure that you're okay. So I hype all the races. So Trent, his team, they do, and there's several of them who help out with this. He's got a couple other races as well. And I think there's something to that. So even though he says all these things we break the mugs and all that, you get there and I kid you not, everybody stays to the end because you get to the end and he gets this huge crowd around the finish line and everybody starts cheering and he hypes up the whole crowd to get people cheering for DFL and then DFL gets an award.
And that was your sister this year? Did I catch that, Trent? Not to interrupt you.
Yeah. There was I kept looking for my sister and she lives up in Vermont and she does a lot of skiing, but she just doesn't run a lot. So she had a good endurance. A few years ago, she did it in a good, fairly good time of 6 something. And then this year she said, I'm coming down. She's like, I haven't run a lot. And she went out there and I kept looking. I'm like, where's my sister? Where's my sister? And with 2 minutes to go.
Is this one big loop? Is Algonquin one big loop? So you don't see
it's like a modified out and back with a circle in the middle. It's okay. Yeah, there's but it's not it's not a big loop. So she's coming. All of a sudden, I see her, and it's a minute to go, and usually, if someone's coming with that little bit of time, everyone's yelling for him. But I ran down there. I don't know if you saw I think I sent you the video right here. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep.
But I ran down there. I'm like, Trina, come on, let's go. And I'm running with her, and she finished with 14 seconds to spare. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think Jacob should come down and just get a mug smashed.
So I do want to get a chance to explain the duck because you were trying to, I think, get ready. And the Algonquin is about probably, what is it, Trent? About 300 people in the Algonquin 50K?
Yeah, this year, about 300 sign up, and then at the start it's around 260 or 70.
Yeah. So 260, 270 for the Algonquin, and he opens up registration. It fills up pretty quick. So a lot of people come back and do it every year. So there's that. And then separate from that, months later is the sign up for the duck. And there are, I think he lets in 35 people, and it was 32 were at the start line this year. And you have to qualify for it. And the duck, you don't know where you're going to be. So the Algonquin is a set course. You know where you're going to be for the first 50K. All we know is that it's going to be, I think, within a 2-hour drive of Salisbury, Maryland, something like that. We know it's going to be on the Delmarva Peninsula, but that's it. We don't know what the course is like. We don't know. So last year it was 5-mile loops. This year it was one continuous course. We don't know if they're going to put us on a treadmill in a shipping container. There's no indication of what the course is like. All we know is that it's a 50K and we'll be done in time for the second 50K. and that's it. So that's kind of the allure, I guess, of doing the duck, and the reason why I had to go back and finish it. Plus, I get all the cool swag. So I got a hat. This was from my DNF actually, but I got this really nice mug. Here's what Trent gave out this year for the Algonquin. Look at this.
I did see those bags. I saw you post those ahead of time. You do, yeah.
Where did he get that idea? He must have run Cayuga.
That was a little. Yeah, I was gonna say, was that a Boko bag? But that's a good slick look, buddy. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you, Aya. Yeah.
You just go pick up your stuff and then eat some cake and then call it a day.
Yeah, that's some good swag for a good 50K in duck there.
Yeah. So we had 200 people complete it under 8 hours. The finisher, the fastest was 4 hours and 3 hours and 48 minutes, I believe. And so it was a good time. It was a lot of people came out, and a lot of people challenged themselves. Like Grayce was saying, we really focus on three things. If the course is well marked, we don't want anyone to get lost. If the course is safe, so safety's first, making sure everyone's taken care of.
Wait, which one's first? But you said safety first, but you kind of had it second in the lineup. Yeah. Is it course markings first, or is it safety first?
Well, you can't be safe if it's not marked correctly. So
technicality.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Correct. So it's a 1A and 1A. So then 2, 3. Wait. So anyway, and so the third thing is timing. We always say we want to make sure the timing is impeccable, so everyone gets their time correctly and everybody's safe. And I think, as Grayce pointed out, we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable out there, and that's why we pride ourselves. And we had 49%. It was one more guy than lady finished the Algonquin, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And these aid stations, I tell you what, one year they had little tiny bottles of maple syrup, little glass bottles of maple syrup. They had these, Matrix. Now your head comes up from the Wordle game. Bottles of maple syrup. I'm telling you, there was cornbread. It was what was the cornbread stuff?
It's fried cornbread from a barbecue shop down the street. Yeah.
Fried cornbread. Last year, that stuff was banging. I mean, the aid stations are they're next level. They've got chefs out there. They've got and really great support. So Grit Chicks comes out.
What's Grit Chicks?
Grit Chicks, a local trail running group. Yeah.
Yeah, what they do is she actually puts on running retreats across the nation. It's for ladies to go out and spend time together, do yoga, they do running. They have different seminars and everything. So it's really great. And she's a local lady. And this year she gave out some swag to the top 3 female and swag to the 2 grittiest ladies. Grayce, do you have any idea who those 2 ladies are?
I was one of them.
Nice.
I was so excited.
Yeah, all the runners actually voted on the 2 grittiest women.
And then they randomly picked 2 numbers, actually.
Yeah, but they, the more votes you got, the more entries you got in that random picking. Yeah. So Grayce and Elizabeth, who finished her first 50K, both won that. So it was pretty exciting.
It's all the swag, it's all the food, it's all the feel-good vibes. I'd say as a Pennsylvania runner too, we've got a lot of that in Pennsylvania, and it's I haven't seen that everywhere I go when I trail race, and so really nice to see that that same feeling whenever I go back. People are yelling, "Hey, hot pants!" Like that's cool. I feel like even though I'm not from that area, I still feel like they welcome me in like family.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is we have nothing else to do here but run because we're in the middle of nowhere. We're not close to Baltimore, not close to Philadelphia. We have a beach, but in the winter, we can't really do much. I mean, we can surf, but we can't really spend a lot of time outside doing anything else but running. So we've got a huge running community. I just checked the town I live in, Salisbury, Maryland. There's like 30,000 people, I think. And 70 people have run Algonquin, and there's over 147 people in the towns around here. So we're just finding a good addiction and trying to spread the addiction throughout the entire peninsula. We think that we pride ourselves in spoiling people as they suffer. So everyone that joins in, they're happy and they're sad. It's kind of a nice mix. So they're coming through and they're like, this really sucks, and yet I'm having fun, and pushing my goals. I mean, we've had so many people that if I met them a few years ago, I'd say there's no way this person's doing a 50K, and now they're coming out doing 50Ks, doing the duck, doing all sorts of crazy things. So I'm just trying to get Ian and Matt down here. That's all I can.
Dude, I actually did really want to. That was the plan. I thought it was going to happen this year, but maybe another year. And then it's always a good time getting the Matrix lasagna out there as well.
You had me a maple syrup.
Yeah, maple syrup. Though 50K.
The maple syrup was straight from Vermont from my sister's neighbor. And she brought it in. Yeah. Wasn't that awesome, Grayce?
Yeah.
What Grayce doesn't know is that the extra syrup we actually brought back. And the next morning we were making pancakes and throwing that syrup on. It was amazing.
Matrix, have you done a 50K?
Well, not really, unless you can't. Boulder
training
Beast was
or
like 29 one year, which isn't a true 50K, but close.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to find a way to, I guess, weasel him into it. Maybe it's gonna have to be his first 50K. It's gonna be Algonquin of all the races that Matt's done.
I'll go hang out at an aid station and help at an aid station. I don't know. I'm just not really into the super long stuff, but I do like when I helped out at your water gap. It was fun to run because you're like, hey, you run this aid station.
You bring good energy.
There's no rules on how you run it. You can throw the party at your aid station however you want to throw your party. So, we had the wheel of misfortune, and we made people spin like a thing. Want to race lasagna? Oh, I can eat lasagna like crazy. So, lasagna race. So, we would make people spin the wheel of misfortune, and it could be anything. It could be like you gotta. I don't even remember what we had on it, but it was just like people were suffering, so we're like the wheel of misfortune, and then it would be like tell us a joke. We tell you a joke, and I don't remember, but it was an old Twister thing that we modified to be funny, and whatever, and it was a good time. So I would definitely go back I would go help run an aid station or something like that. I mean, I think that would be more fun for me to heckle people. And
well,
stuff like that.
I will say that Trent's got the T.W.O.T 25K, and it's always cool to see. I think it's cool to see Rocksylvania runners head to some flat stuff. It was cool to see when Eric Kosak.
You know what I learned? Well, real quick, when you guys are talking about the flat, it made me think. I'm carrying my bags when a Sherpa. God, what is this? So, all right. So, when Zach Miller and I went down to Florida last year around this time, we were doing a lot of biking, and we were doing I was doing very little running at the time, and I'm not sure if Zach was doing any, but we were doing a lot of biking. We were biking like 25 miles a day or something like that in Florida, and on our mountain bikes, it's flat. But the thing is like when you run into that sand, which you guys are talking about, the sand and the water, those giant deep water pits and the sand, those are like the hills of the flat area. Because it's just so draining. You're like, it's flat, but I'm putting a lot of energy and not going anywhere. So that's what I think of when you guys talk about hills. I'm like, we're being flat and tough. And I'm like, yeah, I know what that feels like. It feels like you're running like wet concrete. It's just tough.
Yeah, it's spot on. Like it's so tough in a different way. And it's tough like, I got to keep there are no hiking sections except for the mud pits.
It'd be like running with moon boots on your feet. You ever run with moon boots on your feet?
Yeah.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like moon shoes?
Totally.
Mini, like a trampoline for each foot, strapped to each foot as a kid.
I think you got something there, dude. Well, there's old school moon boots from like the 80s originally. I wonder what they'd be like to run in, man.
They're terrible. I tried running them. It was terrible. I was like, I couldn't even believe people. I got a pair for my birthday, and I was like, I can't wait to get these moon shoes or moon boots or whatever they were. They made it. The commercial was like moon shoes, hopping around like whatever, something rhymed with moon shoes. And then when you got them, you're like, sweet, this is gonna be awesome. And then they were cinder blocks with rubber bands stretched across the top of them. And then they were like, now jump and run around. And I was like, the commercial wasn't like, wait a minute. So
that actually sounds like that sounds like
running Del Mar.
Yeah, that's what
does that sound like the duck? Does that sound like the duck, like running around in moon shoes?
Pretty much last year's, right? Yeah, great.
With maple syrup.
But Grayce,
Maple syrup.
Grayce, maple syrup, we'll get that for you. And there's a nice aid station you could work at. Grayce touched on the Tuckahoe 25K that's in November, and that one right now it's sold out. There's over 300 people, 67% women, and the 4 women that co-race direct with me really bring the perfect race out. So it's of course 15 miles, which is the perfect distance, and it really introduces people to trails when they're
on the flat. I have a fun story. I love seeing mountain runners go do flat stuff. I think it's just a cool challenge. For me, at least, it was mentally challenging because I had to run so much. So Eric Kosak, who's my coach, he of course runs in the mountains in Pennsylvania, right? So he went down to do the Harrisburg Marathon, which is notoriously flat. So he goes down to Harrisburg Marathon and he places like 8th or something like that. I think he might have been first or second masters. So I know the race photographers from that race, and they also do like Boston and New York and big in the road scene, but they know nothing about trails. They're like, idiot runners. That I saw this guy at Harrisburg. He came out of nowhere. Who is he?
Yeah, he's wearing those shoes.
Oh, yeah. He's a mountain runner. He's just you'll never see him again. That's it. He's gonna do 1 marathon. It's always fun to see people switch it up, but I think it's a cool experience. If Trent did the same thing, he came up and he did Heiner, and I think that's cool to come up and to switch around and do different types of courses. Although I was happy to be back on with some vertical today.
Yeah. Got my
Cool.
DFL Heiner. I'll take it. Got the hat to prove it.
All right. Well, Grayce, nice work on the finish of both of them. Pretty awesome. Congrats, Trent. Nice work. It looks like you guys had a pretty good day out there, and your events are continuing to grow. So nice work, man. Yeah.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you guys put together that Trails Collective team for the Pemberton 24. I got a team for you. Got a slot for you. All you have to do is put together a team of 4. That's all I'm asking you.
Team of 4 is going to run in moon shoes. All right. We'll see what we can do.
Get your moon
Maybe
shoes ready. Team moon shoes.
All right.
Get those moon shoes ready. Paint some
All right.
racing stripes on them.
That's right.
All right. We'll catch you both later. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
All right. Scott, what's going on, man?
What's up?
Sorry I had you hanging out on the back end there.
Hey, it's Ellie's hotel room.
It's Ellie's hotel room. Look at that.
She's getting room service.
It may have been where the feedback. We still hear.
Hello.
Hey, how's room service?
I'm at my friend's Airbnb, my running buddy's Airbnb.
I told you it's hotel room. I told you I was right. I said hotel room. It's the same thing. Same thing.
Sorry, I just got some news about grad school, so I was just telling people. Sorry.
Oh, congrats! Well, I don't know what the news was. Maybe it was like
I got into IC, so I'm in Ithaca for a while.
Oh, right on! Congrats!
All right. Way to
Thank
go.
you.
You can run faster from here. I think.
I know. I
What?
know.
As a lead-in. Yeah.
Okay.
What is
Running
up,
now.
everyone? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Scott.
Hi,
Thanks
Scott.
for
I
being
enjoyed
Howdy.
your. I enjoyed all the episodes of your Chasing Gold,
Oh, nice.
especially yours, which was very funny.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, it was fun to work on that with Jamil. We're trying to put some humor into the sport, have some fun, run fast, all that good stuff. So yeah, I think we'll have a little bit more of that coming, and trying to just jab some fun at this wacky sport we do.
What was it? So is that what took you out to? So for everybody joining us or pulling through right now is Scott Trayer. Scott, for a bit there from Massachusetts, in Phoenix now, and working with the Currys on the. Is that what your gig is now? With
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I had been living on the road the past couple of years. I sold the house in Colorado and was just traveling, trail bumming, loving life, and was heading down there to get ready for Desert Solstice, the 24-hour track race, and then Black Canyon. And a little opportunity opened up with them, and it turned into a bigger opportunity. And yeah, I mean, if being in the running world, there's no other company I would rather be a part of than Air Viper running. So I am so stoked.
Yeah, I bet, man. It's amazing to see just how successful they've been in that space on so many levels. And just seems, I don't know many of them in terms of the back end, but it just seems like a really wonderful, just larger family to be a part of that continues to grow and expand and threading a good needle about being very much high profile in terms of exposure, but still having these like classic vibes and these party scenes at races. And it seems like they're doing a great job of straddling both worlds there.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've probably all of us here have been in the sport for a little bit. We know we're at a tipping point. It's going someplace because of the explosion of the sport. And a big reason for me being with Air Viper is, I mean, I believe that they can shape the future or the culture a little bit of the sport, or at least have a little say in it. And I think they're doing what we want the sport to be, what we remember it, 10 years ago. And yeah, I mean, and exactly what you said, you could show up twice a month and have these amazing events going on that are well put together, electric, and it happens so often down there. The community has been exceptional. Yeah, come on down, do some racing with us.
So starting up with them, what's your role? What are you doing?
I'm going to be shadowing a few of their race directors to take over the Dirt Series next year. It's a series of 9 trail races, and hopefully put on some running camps. I have a little experience with that. So yeah, just getting that community together, putting on some events, and it seems like I might have a little future in media with them too.
Yeah, that was fun. I didn't know where I was going at first. I think when I clicked your link and I got in there, and I don't think that we've met before. And I wasn't like pre-stalking really photos or anything. So when I first got in, you started talking, I was like, wait, I think I saw a picture and I think this kind of looks like him. I was like, wait, yeah, dude, I'm kind of confused here for a second. Wait, no, I think that's him too. And then I caught on, but it was good. It was entertaining.
Yeah, it was a little spoof of all the interviews I got to do leading in. We interviewed 5 women, 5 men that had a chance at getting a ticket. And I basically told them during the interview, when I reached out to them, I said, hey, I want to know the name of a training buddy or a friend that's going to give me some dirt on you, because I'm going to try to make you uncomfortable and make you laugh during this thing. And they all were like, all right, cool. I love where this is going. And we just went with it.
That's good. So pretty immediately, it seems like you're syncing pretty well with that family and shaping, I guess, the vision as well. And it seems like Jamil will be all about that angle as well.
Absolutely. That is great.
Cool. So what, and before we dig in some to Black Canyon or more, tell me what's shaking with Run Fasta?
Yeah, that started, I had a lot of success racing out here in Boston when I first started out. Very fortunate to fall into running with Trail Animals Running Club. And yeah, guys like Josh Katzman and Dave Huss, Jeremy Arnold, they kind of shaped my vision of the sport, of having some fun, being a good trail steward. And it kind of prompted me to open the run coaching business, which has just grown exponentially. So it's at a good point now that I feel comfortable being in the running industry, and I know I have a long future here. And, growing up as a kid, that all I wanted to do was be in professional sports. I feel like I'm stoked about where I'm at 40.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Which is awesome. I mean, we'll maybe get into it here in a second with Black Canyon, but at 42, I mean, for you guys going 1-2 at age 41 and 40 with a field that, you're gapping by 5 to 10 years. And that's pretty awesome that you are just selling the Masters division.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, yeah, True. I know True from some of the training runs out there. He's from Flagstaff. He's actually originally a New England guy. And yeah, I mean, if you see footage of the finish line, it's him coming up to hug me. And all we can say is, yeah, like 2 New Englanders, 2 over 40 athletes just crushing it, getting into their prime. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I have at least 5-10 more years left of running well.
Mm-hmm. And so for those who may be tuning in, I'm assuming maybe what's up for tonight, but we are on now with Scott Trayer, Matrix Lasagna here as well, Ellie Pell, part of the Trails Collective crew, and also a golden ticket winner out of Bandera. And then Scott Trayer, as we've talked about already, now in Phoenix, but also nabbed one of those golden tickets for Western States as the second finisher at the Black Canyon 100K this past weekend. And I think when I reached out, I didn't know you were based in Phoenix. I think at the time I was like, he's the first Easterner, so to speak, kind of representing. I was like, damn it, it's from Phoenix. He doesn't count anymore. You know?
I'm in Boston right now. I flew back. I am in Boston. I'm in the snow. Come on, I'll take a little cred for Boston. I'm new to Phoenix. The roots are East Coast, always East Coast.
Yeah. And
it's like we train them out here and then they leave.
Yep.
Like when I was talking to Jeff Colt yesterday, he grew up in New Hampshire, and he's like, it's just different out here, like on the East. He's like, it's just like the terrain is just more gritty, like harder. And he's like, I'm not gonna lie, I went to Colorado for some buttery smooth mountain running and like easy 7% grade hills, and I was like, so we train them out here and then they leave us.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was here for a few months last summer, living on the road and, just doing some big runs with friends in the whites, just these huge routes. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta, I was living in Colorado and I would just joke, man, I gotta get back to those buffed out Colorado stuff. But I mean, I love this stuff out here too. It's just different. Being at Black Canyon, everyone talks about how technical it is. And it's like, come on, we're running on a couple of rocks. This is a speed track. Yeah.
And I saw that mentioned too. And I think Ellie coming off of Bandera as an example. And I thought I'd just weave in Zach Miller on the back end since
who is this like freeloader? He's like driving something.
I couldn't see Scott. I couldn't see Scott on the feed earlier to pull him in. So I would have pulled you in earlier rather than just keeping you waiting earlier, Scott. But I just thought it'd be funny to pull in Zach and not mention it and just kind of see him just driving or kind of doing what he's doing. But Zach, thanks for logging on. And as we started talking about some of the Western running and Western, Eastern, and just thought it'd be, I don't know, in case you want to chime in as well. It's like, you're here. You might as well bring you in, Zach, there into the thread as well.
Zach's in between picking up bus stop people, picking them up, dropping them off for some coffee, drop off another group.
It's what it looks like. He's got the jacket on, and is that a tie under there? What do you?
Yeah, it's like a uniform. He's like selling ice cream to children.
Yeah, look, he turned off his camera. He's so embarrassed. He's shy.
That's pretty good. So all right. So Scott, so you're in between. Are you back in Boston, and then are you driving back out? Or are you kind of in transition right now?
No, I just flew back out, see some family, get a few loose ends taken care of. Like I said, I moved out there not knowing I was staying, and now I'm staying. So I just kind of popped back here to tie up a loose end or two and hang out for a week in the snow. I'm going to support some runners this weekend on some fun adventures, and I'll be back there next week.
Cool. And then, so do you think that it's quite possible that you would have won if True's name wasn't Trueheart? Because I mean, dude, like the name like Trueheart, you can't beat that. Like that's easily like a 4-minute like delta that he has over you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
100%. I mean, I can't say how much of a good dude he is. He was out at all of our training runs, and I would meet up. And just like me, I mean, after the run, he's there until the last person's finishing, goofing off, making jokes, hanging out. And it's just, man, I love seeing that kind of stuff in our sport. And especially, with so many new people, I think as an older athlete, we have an example to set. And I hope True and I will set that example for the younger folks.
Yeah, and that's good to be so close with him and Flag as well. I mean, there's such a solid network out there, and this will be both of your first Westerns, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine, well, if you wanted to, some opportunities for some getting together for some training efforts there, or putting in some miles. The other, so in addition to, I felt like the handicap that you had just based on name, just because your name's Scott, and dude, I don't know, like that's not like a winning name. I mean, that's just like Scott. I mean, compared to like Trueheart, I mean, I don't know, it's fine.
Yeah.
But, Scott. It's kind of like Zach. I mean, I don't know, Zach's tough.
Or Matt.
What his matrix lasagna? It's got an edge there.
Yeah. He's
the other part.
But how about the gemstones I was wearing? I mean, you see that? I don't know if you saw the outfit I had on. I gemstoned up my hat, had the white button down that I put gemstones on. I mean, You don't see that dude at the start line and say, man, this guy's got something. I mean, I got an intimidation factor going right there.
I don't know if it's an intimidation. You got something going right there. Yeah. But that was going to be my next point on like the delta or the handicap was clearly the shirt spoke more like working class. It looked like it was maybe slightly off-white or dirty. It looked really thin in fabric. I mean, it was far enough away that I couldn't really necessarily see through it. But it was definitely, it speaks to me as like working class or Southwest, so you've got that grit and edge to you. And the friend who I think really made that style really famous, or one of them was a friend, Rod Bean, when we were living in Oregon, and then Patagonia, right, went on to create the long haul trucker around them. But this, like, and I've got a couple, but they're like these foofy patterns, and you've got the snaps, and like yours is just like you just picked that up from the Salvation Army on the way to the race. And
99 cents at Salvation Army about 15 years ago. I've had that shirt. I mean, if you've ever seen me race, they're usually in super, super thin, old cotton shirts. I think they're so good. And yeah, that shirt was a last minute decision. I had the long sleeves for the cool morning. And then I figured when it got really hot, I had sun protection. And I know with the amount of coverage it have, when I would soak it, I'd start soaking it at 8:30 or so in the morning. It would keep me cool. I mean, and style matters, right? I mean, you got to look good out there.
You looked good. I mean,
yeah. I mean, that definitely weighs in. But I mean, I think practically it's just a good shirt. So I mean, it has all the applications in a 15-year career at 99 cents. I mean, I don't think you're getting much better bang for your buck there.
Zach, are you aware of anything that North Face makes that would be a better shirt than what Scott was wearing, in case you haven't seen that yet, or what we're talking about?
No, I don't think anything can compete.
Yeah. I think I kind of heard that, but I'm pretty sure you say that North Face hasn't quite worked out the technology to match what Scott was wearing yet.
Yeah, that's essentially what I said.
Yeah. All right. So that's good.
I like the idea though of the thrift store, because then like if you get it gross or you have to use it as like cleaning some of yourself, and you can just like toss it, or even at the end at the finish line you should have just done like the rip your shirt off, like, you know, and then it's only 99 cents. You can just go get another one.
Don't say that
barrier. Like it
sounds like
no. These shirts have been with me, I mean, on 5 continents doing crazy excursions. I mean, these shirts have feel to me. I mean, people ask, like I did in my interview, Race Superstitions. These things have traveled with me. I've lived all over, you know, for 15 years on the road or so. And these shirts have been with me. So I feel like each one has its own story, and I take that with me on race day. That shirt is never getting thrown away. It might make its way into the Hall of Fame, like maybe in the room hanging up, but it's not getting thrown away.
What's going to be the kit for the, do you have a shirt that's reserved?
Right there, boom.
That's it.
No,
that's it.
What I had on, the rhinestones, everything. That's the kit, no doubt.
What'd you feel going in? Did you have a good?
Yeah, I feel. Yeah, you guys, you know, I'm a coach, right? So I kind of think this through, and I kind of said that in the Scott interview before. If you guys watched that on Chase and Gold, we know there's going to be carnage early. I don't have, 2:10 marathon speed to even think of going out with that. So my plan was to stay in 20th or 30th position through 20th place. And then with the heat coming up, my mantra was hydration was more important than pace. And at mile 30, I knew I was gonna start making some moves. And I think knowing a lot of the guys through that little interview series and goofing off with them made a big deal. Like I climbed up the climb at Black Canyon City. I passed Jared and Preston Cates in a group of about 8, and I was a few switchbacks up, and I yelled down to the mountain. I was like, "Come on, boys, pick up the pace!" And they all started laughing, but I was way up on them. And I remember coming out of Black Canyon City, I saddled up next to Anthony Costales, and I just gave him in a high pitched, "What's up, baby?" And he just looked at me and he was like, "What?" And then at the finish line, he was like, when you did that, man, I knew there was no catching you. So it's, it was so fun out there, just playing around and running.
So that's now that you're giving up some of these secrets. Well, whatever, dude. I was gonna say you're giving up some of these secrets. The next time you're gonna get up to some of those people and you're gonna be responding like that, dude. He's just messing with me. He feels awful, but he's making me think he feels good, and they're just gonna, yeah.
I felt good all day.
And how long were you out in Phoenix ahead of that? That was awesome, Zach. With your hand right there for a second, I thought you had your shirt pulled up when I caught it out of the corner of my eye. I thought I was just looking at your bare chest. I was like, I don't even know what the hell's going on with this interview anymore. But Zach's like taking off his shirt over there. It's like, oh wait, no, that's his knuckles. That's all just happened in a split second. If you want to know how my brain works, right there. So,
100%.
So it definitely turned into some carnage out there. I mean, it got hot, and you've been out there for a bit. Did you kind of acclimate a bit? I mean, what were you doing to just cool the engine?
Yeah. I was just dumping water. I mean, like I said, I got ready for Desert Solstice, and so that was like I went back to just putting up big volume, like 140-mile weeks, getting it ready for Solstice, and then after Solstice, just had some fun chasing some Strava segments on some mountains and throwing some big volume. And I mean, I knew I entered the race super fit, and there's 20 people that can win, and if you have a good day, you have a good day. And that's what happened. I got lucky. I had a good day.
Well, not totally lucky, but true to your point, right? In terms of just the carnage, but totally healthy mindset, right? I mean, if it's that's how it's going to shake out, that's going to shake out, and that's how it shook out.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I executed how I wanted to run, and if you would have told me I'd end up in 5th place that day, then I would be like, all right, I feel like I did pretty well. I executed the plan, and I didn't know how, if multiple guys would go under 8 hours. I figured I would be in that 8:05 to 8:15 range. So it just kind of worked out. It could have easily worked out that 5 guys finish under 8 hours, but they didn't on that day, and I'm happy for it.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing, Jeff, when I talked to Jeff last night, he told me that he really had a strategy, and he stuck to his strategy no matter how fast the guys were going out. And he said he also was able to eat a lot in the beginning. And I know that also Claire, who won the women's race, she's a big eater in the beginning. Was that part of your strategy as well?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have that pretty dialed in. I know my hydration rate just from doing a lot of sweat rate testing and carbohydrates. I'm usually trying to get 75 grams an hour, and I kind of just know every hour this is what I need to get in. So knowing that and just having, a lot of experience with it, it's not so much of an issue, I don't think, with me anymore. Hydration is the bigger issue. So, there's a few stretches there where you're 90 minutes. I don't like a vest, so I typically just use a band, 2 bottles. About 2 bottles an hour I'm trying to get in those hotter conditions. And that did play into my idea of moving down to Phoenix, was to try to, back in Boston, you're not getting 2 bottles an hour in training in the winter. It's just not going to happen, right? So I knew I needed my gut to be tolerable of such high volume of liquid. It helps training in the middle of the day in Phoenix for sure. Just getting that in every day.
Man, that is high. So you're taking in roughly 40 ounces per hour is your target?
And the hot part of the day, I would get 2 bottles an hour and then Cokes off the table. Uh-huh. So I feel like absorption rate's probably a little higher than a liter. I mean, sweat rate at that condition is going to be astronomical. I don't know, 50, 60 plus ounces an hour. So you got to know going in, you're going to be cutting a deficit, which is why going into 20, 25 miles, like I said, my mantra was hydration was more important than pace. You can only move as fast as you can keep up with fluids, because if you're in a huge deficit at mile 40, you're not closing, period. Mm-hmm. So you need to know you need to close. And so that was a reason of having such a conservative start for me. True went right after it, and he did that on all of our training runs. And he's just an animal, right? I mean, guys, I'm going. It reminds me of a Tour de France rider that I love, right? You go off the front of the pack, you hope you hang on. And when you do, every single person watching a guy that went off the front of the pack of the Tour is going to cheer for that person. And I mean, that's what True did. It's such an awesome run from him. So cool.
So when and I was trying to follow, I don't know if the live tracking was quite accurate. I was checking in here and there, but I can't remember. Was the tracking, and Ellie, you were probably watching it too, showing one of the women was off the front end, like ahead of the
Yeah, it
males
said like
for a
Anna
while.
May, or no, Anne Marie. It said like Anne Marie Madden was second, and I was like, "Whoa, dang!"
Yeah,
that wasn't accurate though.
That wasn't accurate. I know there was, and I forget her name. She was out of country, I believe, from Poland. 100K Dominica. I remember seeing her around Black Hands. She was running really high up front, and I know she had a pretty bad fall because she was up by a minute with 3 miles to go, and I know Clea won by about 5 or 6 minutes, and she came into the finish line pretty bloodied up. But yeah, she was definitely up there in position, and I don't know where, because again, I was racing from the back, so I'm in 25th position at mile 25 or so.
And True was pushing, right? I mean, he was ahead of the record splits for the first 20 or 25 miles or something.
Yeah, we came off the track, and as soon as we were on the road, I mean, he had a 100 meter gap, and it just kept opening throughout. Yeah, I mean, he ran by himself the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're coach, I'm going to go back to that hydration. Just was like, wow, like that's impressive getting that amount of fluids in. When I'm going there, I'm typically thinking maybe my target would be 20 to 30 ounces per hour, what I could take in. I don't know whether Zach, for you, I don't know whether have you done like sweat testing as well? Or are you kind of go more by feel?
No, I haven't done sweat rate testing. Yeah, I guess I just more go by feel and like just training, but probably mostly just by feel, because most of my nutrition training during training is more calorie based than like liquid based. I guess like it's easier to carry gels than it is to like have water stops everywhere to like accurately practice a hydrate. Usually I'm just kind of like getting by with the fluids. Yeah. Probably not getting as many as I would in an actual race because you have the luxury of an aid station. So yeah, I haven't really crunched the numbers. I guess I've just kind of like, I don't know, probably gotten lucky some days and maybe raced enough to kind of figure out like what my needs are for certain races. But there's also races that are just hotter or like it takes longer to get between aid stations and you just mess it up. I've had that too. Like, I mean, probably the race I had it most dialed for was North Face 50 because I just ran the thing so many times and it was pretty predictable because of what the terrain was like. So it was easier to dial that in. But you fly over to Europe and run a race you've never run before on a course maybe you've never seen before, and it's easy to kind of mess it up there.
And then Scott, what are you using in terms of nutrition to pull that amount through in terms of?
Yeah, so I use sports drink. I don't take any sponsors, but I have a sports drink that I use, and that's getting me a small amount. It's a low cal, 80 calories, 20 grams of carbohydrate per bottle. And then on a fast hut race like that, it's all easily digestible stuff. So, some of like the chew products or gels. I don't think I had anything other than chews or gels. Nothing but chews and gels and sports drink. If it was a longer mountain event, I'm probably adding rice balls with soy sauce and egg. That's typically what I use for real food that I'll kind of make these little sachets. But 80 degrees in the canyon, it's hot. You don't want to eat anything. There's so much blood going for evaporative cooling that digestion is just not going to work. So it's just like trying to get those simple stuff in.
And is that has that been a big? So you're coaching any number of athletes at any given time as well?
Yeah, so I coach about 40 athletes, trail ultra athletes. And it's something. Yeah, we kind of just talk about the sweat rate's pretty easy. I mean, there's a lot of good companies coming out now, Nick's being one of them. But even just doing a simple test with a scale, it's super pretty accurate, right? I mean, go out 30 minutes or 60 minutes, don't drink anything, weigh yourself before, weigh yourself after. You get a sweat loss that's pretty close to what your sweat rate is in these conditions. And you can kind of just track that every 10 or 15 degrees and have a good idea of how much you're losing. I think it's a big aha moment for athletes, especially Northeast athletes, where it's hot. you do the sweat rate testing. Athletes, that I coach, everyone in the summer at a 80-degree day is going to, even at easy intensities, losing, 45, 50 ounces an hour. So when you think of that over 4 hours, right? If you're not even drinking 2 bottles, you're not keeping up with your demand. But as long as you keep it within a certain range, there's not going to be the performance decline.
Yeah, I guess physiologically speaking, I just wasn't even aware that you could pull in that amount in terms of the 40 ounces. But I mean, that's just speaks to my ignorance. But I just felt like that was over what the body could process in like a given hour or whatever.
Yeah, I think it will typically process up to like 34 or 36. So like 2 bottles, like I said, 2 bottles an hour is what I was taking. And then when I got to aid stations, I would slam like 2 Cokes, but that could be every 60 to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast actually on the way to Ithaca to you, Ian, and it was the Sports Science podcast with Dr. Ross Tucker, and they were talking about hydration and nutrition. And recently there have been some studies coming out that normally athletes take between like 40 and 60 grams of carbohydrates an hour, but they did a couple studies with athletes that got them used to taking like 120 to 140 grams per hour, and like they had like less muscle damage, like we're able to take all that in, and they didn't think that athletes would be able to actually use that, like it would just sit, but they were able to use it, and they had less muscle damage, less fatigue, they recovered faster. So I'm like, I gotta practice that 140 grams per hour.
Yeah, it's an interesting study. I know the exact research paper you're talking about. It gets talked about fairly regularly. 120 grams an hour. They had about 25 elite athletes, some of them that were world champion winners in a mountain marathon course, 4,000 meters to climb over a marathon. And they were taking a bolus of anywhere from 30, 60, 90, or 120 grams an hour. And the research study was actually trying to figure out if a higher rate of carbohydrate would result in less muscular breakdown, which it showed it definitely did. But when we talk about like an everyday athlete that maybe isn't putting out as much energy, I don't think that those numbers are numbers to go by. Yeah.
Because it's a lot of gut training. Like you really do have to train that a lot. And I feel like, more elite athletes who are, training for like 4 hours a day and are taking nutrition. Like I don't take nutrition like on my daily runs. Like I don't practice that much. And so but in order to be able to take like 140 grams, you really have to practice. But I do know that like, Jim is able to, for example, take in like a lot of carbohydrate. And that's like one of things he's practiced, and he's good at it. And that's what helps him in races. So it's just interesting to think about.
It's cool. And so I imagine being out there then, Scott, that's going to bode pretty well for then leading into Western in June. I mean, running in Phoenix, a little bit less technical, some longer climbs, access to, I don't know, it just seems like more of a direct correlation to what you might get in June.
Yeah. It's my goal race was 4 weeks later at High Lonesome 100. So that kind of, I guess, see if you can race them both. Who knows? But yeah, I think being out there, I don't know. Like I know what I need to do in terms of training. I know what I need to do come race day. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, being in that heat, I do think that heat's gonna, in the canyons will be a big role. And I mean, yeah, you don't race till Forest Hill, so I'll have the same strategy, right? Hydration's more important than pace. Get the Forest Hills ready to run fast and close faster than anyone there is the plan.
It's good stuff.
Just being somebody in the media, like you are, a couple people have asked like how I plan to deal with like the hype and everything that happens. And I've thought about it a little bit because I try to take care of my mental health, but you are somebody that you might be a part of the hype media in addition to being in the spotlight too. How do you plan to go into the week of Western States and even the month before, because it starts early, and like, keep your systems, calm and yet still engaged and able to take in what you're doing, but also do your job? Have you thought about that a little bit?
I have thought a little bit about it. Like I said, the race happened. I stayed at the finish line till the race was over on Saturday. Then I went back for the 60K and then flew to Boston. So I haven't had a minute to maybe talk with Jamil. I'm guessing he's probably going to be out there. But yeah, if he wants to do something a little meaty, I'm more than happy to do it. And for me, yeah, I mean, that stuff helps me. I draw off that energy being with the people. So if I can get out there and goof off for a week and do some meteor and have some fun with the athletes, for me, that's even better.
Well, it would be great to catch up with you further. I'd like to dive into maybe some of these topics more, which would be fun. But just for sure, big congrats to the effort you laid down. Pretty calculated, and most importantly, though, I mean, you look pretty good doing it there in the wearers.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what for you to pick up some sort of sponsor deck that can create. I guess you're not going to wear it anyway, right? It's like, I'm sorry, I got this shirt.
Salvation Army sponsor.
Yeah, I got my shirt. I got my shorts. I'm good to go. Cool.
So we're going to dig in a little bit to Frozen Snot. Scott, you're welcome to hang on here as well. But if you're like, yeah, I'm going to jet, that's okay too. Your call. But to Zach and Matt. So are you familiar with the Frozen Snot, Scott? Have you?
Don't know it. I'll hang for a bit.
Yeah. Well, the Frozen Snot's probably one. You should probably just do one of these years.
Where is it?
But actually, Matrix Lasagna, give us a rundown of Frozen Snot. Give us where it's at in Matrix community. Dial it in for us.
It's in Macklehattan, Pennsylvania. You ever heard of Woolrich, like the original outdoor clothing company?
I do. I went to University at Penn State, so I'm very familiar with Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. So you're right there. And it's same Bald Eagle State Forest then. But right near Lock Haven. Macklehattan's a small town outside Lock Haven.
Yep.
And it's basically like a winter sky race. They just kind of stick you in the Water Authority property, which is like a valley. And they're like, all right, we're just going to kind of like go up the road. And then that's the free real estate is like this like 1 or 2% grade. Like you feel like you're like, why am I so slow? And then you're like, oh, it's because I'm climbing. So it's just like real, douche grade, so to speak. And then when you get to the bottom, it's just like that's the only real estate that's free. And then it's like you immediately it goes from 1 or 2% to 40%, and then it never lets up. It's just like you go out into this valley, and then they're like, we're just gonna go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And then when we're like, all right, that's enough, we'll send them home.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's in winter, so they try to hold it on the worst or the coldest weekend of the year, just
nice.
For kicks, because they're like it's just one big kick in the ball after the other. It's just like
it sounds like an event I like.
Everything they could do to make this as hard as possible is what they used to have stream crossings without bridges, but they were like, we'll give them bridges.
Yeah.
Give them, throw them, lob them an easy one. So now there's bridges. But the first year they were like, the race director was like, you better bring socks and extra shoes. And people were like,
yeah,
it's like negative 40.
That's still.
So
yeah, that's still on the website. They're like extra socks.
That's
awesome. But, speaking of extra socks, they gave us socks. So
is that the swag item this year with socks?
Oh, they give you a down vest.
Oh, that
a fake down vest, which is like crazy. That's like an $80 item. And then they have logs to cross. Well, it's a log bridge, and and then here they give you socks, and then like wine and cheese, and I mean, and there's all kinds of that stuff too. But
that was into Jacob's point there. Yeah, I've only run it once, but it was interesting in some of the logs that you are crossing. I mean, there's obviously some people are more coordinated than others, and it's just like this tease where you get these people that just slipping off into then the cold kind of icy water or whatever, and it's just like you might as well not even had that log there like that. But
some years have been pretty deep. This time around, it was kind of shallow in those sections.
And so, Scott, also with these, in addition to the grades, there's a couple just signature boulder fields where it's just that, which you maybe remember from being in that neck of the woods as well, where you're driving on some of the roads out there and you look up and it's just this boulder field. And so you're climbing some of those as well. And then some of the And to Jacob's also comment here, first race he ever got rope burn on, some of the, particularly up high on some of the descents, they've also got the rope lines where you're basically doing this like modified rappel. Now, and I don't know, for you, I imagine Matt and the guys up front, Zach, you guys aren't using the rope. I imagine, are you flying through that, or are you still using ropes even in your effort?
I totally use the rope. It's like it was the Jurassic Park story, because Matt was behind me on Mount Logan Direct, and he said it was like, Matt can probably tell it better. He said it was like Jurassic Park.
So in Jurassic Park 3, in the very beginning of the movie, when they're like in the paraglider behind the boat and they go up in the clouds, and then they're like, the boat kind of disappears, you can't see it anymore, and all of a sudden the wire that they're attached to in this parachute that attaches to the boat goes like twang, and they're like, what was that? And then it like pulls them in, and then they're like, and then when the cloud goes away, then there's just like this half-eaten boat and everybody's gone, there's blood, and they're like, ah, so that's like when Zach got a little gap on me going down Mount Logan Direct. It was like Jurassic Park, because I'm like, crap, where did he go? And then I'm like looking, and there was like, ropes tied off to trees. So there's like a whole bunch of different lengths of rope. So I'd be like running down this rope, and then I'd see like the next length of rope would be like, wang, and it would like go caught. I was like, there he is. There he is.
Yeah, like Mount Logan Direct is probably like 80-90% of it, right, Matt, is ropes. Like,
yeah, the whole thing was ropes, and it was just like a mile descent. It was just
it's just a straight shot. Like, I think the Strava segment, it's got to be wrong, because it says the descent is like 300 feet drop. I think it's like 1,300 feet of drop, and it's like 0.8 miles or a mile.
If you look at the topo of Mount Logan Direct, it just looks like a smear because all the lines are just that close.
Yeah, and there's maybe like one or two like jigs like 10 feet to the right, and then straight back down again. Like, otherwise it's pretty much just a beeline. Like they didn't put a single switch back in there. Like, I think there's one or two spots where you go to the right like 10 feet, and then you go straight back down again, and that's about it. Like, it was snowy, so like, I totally used the ropes. Like, it was just like at one point, Ian, like, I accidentally shouldered a rope, like, because you kind of use different techniques. A lot of times it's like at my side. One point I accidentally ended up with the rope like over my shoulder like this. So I just leaned forward like downhill and was just like charging like just downhill like with a rope over my shoulder, and it was like, I was like, whoa, this works really good.
Yeah, dude, that's just like military style.
Who knew?
And it kind of works when you get these loose kind of little chunky like rocks when you're on those descents too, and it's like working until you kick or hit one of those rocks, and it's like then you technique your fall.
I mean, the race is just like Matt and I ran on the course like before the race, like Thursday, and then I ran alone Friday, and you're just out there and you're like they let us do this? Right. Somebody's gonna get hurt. Like, but then you run it at like breakneck speed, and somehow you don't get hurt.
The people have gotten really hurt though. Like the one lady. I mean, I've done it. I think 5. Like the long course, I think 3 times, and the short course twice. And the one time this lady fell, I can't remember her name. But she fell and she broke both her wrists, and like I think she fractured 3 of her ribs. It was pretty serious.
Oh, wow.
And then I don't know, Zach, did you see the picture that I said, hey, there's Pastor Smith, when you were like behind me at the top of that one ridge? Do you see that?
No.
I
don't see any of the stuff you see, Matt.
I know you don't, because I was like trying to talk to you, and you were just like, hey. And I thought that's a rare privilege. I mean, everybody sees this video of Zach at the North Face where he's
North Face, yeah.
Yeah. This is about 3 miles of a race, sounding like this, and it's
he's
like
the human ventilator.
That's how Zach runs the entire. He runs the entire race like that. He's just. So like,
and Matt's back there seeing all this stuff, and after the race, or a run, he's like, hey, did you see that? Or like he saw a piece of candy at the top of a climb, and he picked it up and he threw it at me, And like, I didn't even know he threw anything at me. Like, I'm like, I'm racing. Like, I have like one focus the whole race.
Yeah, right.
And Matt's back there like, oh, did you see the Galifianakis the plant on the side and the yellow-bellied lizard on the other side, and like and the small child with the Tootsie Pop that he bit in half and had the whole Tootsie Roll removed somehow? Like, it's like so
which is pretty phenomenal, right? And so Scott, Matt and Scott, do you guys know one another? Are you connected already?
The only way I know Matt is I remember watching Zach and Matt fight with eggs on the Florida trip. They had like a scrambled egg battle, and that was just some awesome content.
You did take us through content from that trip, whether it be the oranges or whether it be that or whether it be the goo.
The oranges.
It was your goo commercial, right? Was that what?
Yeah, that was good.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was a very productive trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be plugging a town, but we kind of plugged a whole lot of other things.
They were good plugs though.
Yeah, I think after the fact you plugged it a few times. You probably forgot to in the moment, but all good.
But to that point though, think back just like a year ago. I mean, that's crazy. So Scott and Matt, you can, in as much as you want to, just let Scott know where you were, because this, man, it's crazy. Just where you were like a year ago.
So about a year ago, I was from. I think I felt it start around like July maybe, but I didn't get really bad till August. Yeah. I got basically it was like Guillain-Barré. Ever heard of that? It's so my own. Likely, what happened was I got COVID, and then my own body, like without knowing I was sick, it didn't have any symptoms, didn't feel sick, and then my immune system beat it. No big deal. And then it like short wired it, and it just started attacking myself. So I couldn't get any nerve signal to my muscles. So I just kept getting weaker and weaker. And eventually I couldn't even, like, I was sitting in a chair. I could barely hold a fork. I couldn't like turn my wrist to like put my contacts in. I had to like move home and like stay with my parents from I think I moved into them in September because I couldn't make it up the stairs in my apartment. Even with the railing, and then it's like, I was there until December, or no, I think I moved back February. And then as soon as I came back to my apartment, then Zach and I went down to Florida, like I think 6 days later or something. But they've been basically, the long story is my own antibodies are the problem. It's attacking myself. So they give me somebody else's antibodies every month. And then it's just a civil war inside my body for a month. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, so I was like, sitting in a chair and whatever, and then I feel like I'm probably 96% back, or maybe 98% back or something. So I'm working on it, and it's like, so I went from sitting in a chair to being able to go out and hit again. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, for sure. And do you think like this is like, you get 100% back? It's not something you have to worry about, or is it something you think you're always going to have to worry about?
Well, they said that there's a couple things. Like they said that you'll probably never get 100% back. You'll probably get 99%. But I'm like, well, it's better than 0%. So who cares? Sure. As long as I can grind, it'll still be good. I mean, that's just what I want to do, is just grind. So, and then they said that probably when my immune system slows down, so as I get older, I might, or it could go into remission. But until that time, I'll probably be getting the treatment like every month, which is a pain in the butt, but it's not that bad. Like I take my computer and I work from home most days. So I'll take my computer and they put an IV drip in me, and then I just sit there and do my work like I would as if I was at my desk. Sure. So it's not that bad. But they always try to kill my drip. You know what I mean? They out here like I'm Roto Rooter. I got my drip going in me, coming over the haters.
You should align some of the sessions to some of your races. You should actually pull up with the drip in and just be like, hang on.
Yeah. Right.
Hang on, man. This thing's almost kicked.
yeah. Just take the pick out and be like, all right, I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready. Yep.
Whatever. I'll just drink this one.
Which is pretty incredible. And Zach's signal, I think, probably internet signal was pretty weak, so he dropped off right there. I'll pull him back in.
Shocking.
Yeah, I know. You can only get so much out of that van or that little hotspot, whatever he's using. But totally incredible for Matt, for you literally not have a tough time just climbing stairs with a rail like a year ago to be to the point where not only are you back and running again, but like Zach, I don't know what your fitness is like at the moment, but you're Zach, and I know that you just race hard and you're fast, and to have Matt behind you sightseeing, picking up candy and throwing it at you when you're doing the Zach, the ventilator, Miller, like ahead of him, just like charging, and then to still have Matt hose you in the final couple miles and just take you out for the win. Like that's a huge like turnaround.
Wow. You're gonna be so freaking hard on him, for crying out loud. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So Matt, you won the race?
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice.
Congrats. And so that was and I can't see the prior results, but is that a course record for Frozen Snot?
Yeah, my last record was 242, and then we dropped it down to 237 this time around. So that's cool.
And what's the date on it? What date is it usually? I know you said
it's usually they try to set it up for the coldest weekend of the year. So it has been like last weekend of January. It has been like the first weekend or second weekend of February. It's usually right around the first weekend of February, though.
All right. So, I might have to be down here for 2023. This is sound enticing.
Oh, man, it's so good.
That's going to be pretty hot coming out of the Phoenix sun in the heat and throw yourself into a little Frozen Snot.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you just wear enough clothes, it'll feel like Phoenix.
Yeah, that's fine. That's why I got
down pants or just kind of modify a sleeping bag so you look like a just get some armholes and like leg holes in the sleeping bag. You'd look like I don't know, like a running jelly bean. It'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, I get off the plane.
You're into outfits, like you're into eccentrics, right? And then if you get a snag, you hit like a rogue thorn bush or a stick or something. You just be like feathers flying down the hill. Be like, did you guys see that turkey? Like turkey, like your feathers flying over out of your sleeping bag. Yeah, that'd be funny.
And you guys opened it up. You had a couple, and I mean the win was a couple minutes, right? So you guys must have separated at the bottom of Logan's or whatever.
It wasn't that much. I think it was like a minute. What was it, Zach? A minute 20 or minutes, something like that. But anyways, I think Zach said I made my move at the. It's funny though, because we were like in the first mile and a quarter, we had 4 lead changes, and like
battling early.
Yeah, and then we get like so. I kind of wanted to be ahead on the climb that goes up Barb's KMA because I just thought it would climb better, and I thought he would descend better, and that's the way it worked out. And I was like, well, I want to be up front because I'm going to climb better. And then Zach was like, and he like passed me, and I was like, well, all right, well, if you want to climb and go ahead, I'll follow. So he must be feeling good, so I'll let him go. So he goes up and he's climbing, and then there's nowhere to pass. Like there's like if you're like, I mean, the trail is so tight that there's nowhere to pass. So you're just like that's you're in it, you're on it, and then there's it's like packed down with snowshoes. Some people snowshoe down the trail. So when you're running on this hard surface, it's like great. But then when you want to pass, you're post holing to try to get around somebody. And then a couple times I'd post hole to try to get around Zach, and then he would just like counter my move, and I'd be post holing as fast as I could to get around him. And then he wouldn't let me around him. So I was like, okay, I'll get behind you again. And then,
nice.
and then a couple times he would make a move around me, and it just went back and forth and back and forth. It was really cool. But then, like, you know, once you made your move and you got like lucky where you could find a patch or you could make a move, then you were fine to get back on the trail. But if you like, it was so hard to get off and around somebody and back on. You're mostly just like, do I even want to waste?
It's just not worth
energy? It. Like it's crazy.
Tactical East Coast winter trail racing. Good. making moves through post holes.
It was and then. So Zach put a gap on me in the descent, and then on Mount Logan Direct, that's kind of where we separated a little bit. And I was just like, you know, doing the Jurassic Park thing. There he is. And then I just kind of stayed calm in my head. And I was like, so he dropped his bib. Like I saw it on the ground, and I was like on the descent, he dropped his bib. Oh, first of all, we go into this aid station. They have a bacon aid station.
The bacon aid station.
They make bacon in the woods on a wood stove and fireball shots. And
wow.
I don't know if you saw that, Zach.
Yeah, Zach didn't see that.
They had this fire. Okay, they're making bacon and whiskey shots and whatever. And we go through this aid station, and this woman wants to know our numbers for like a safety reason. They want to know. They're like, "What's your bib numbers?" And me and Zach are just running. And they're like, "What are your bib numbers?" And we just keep running. This woman, I thought she was gonna give me she stood in front of me, give me a bear hug. I had to like juke her out. I went like it was like Super Bowl Sunday, so I was like spin move, and I like went around her, and then we just kept running up this creek, and then she's like, I need your bib numbers, like you boys get back here right now. And then, so we and Zach both were like, oh, so we like looked down at our bibs, and then we yelled at the same time. Zach was like 435, and I was like 438 or whatever it was, but we yelled at the same time, so it came out like, and then we were like, and then I was like, okay, I'll go second. And Zach was like, is he gonna go? And we're still running away, so we're like, Zach's like 438, and I was like 435 or whatever I said, and then we just kept trucking. We're like, I don't even know if they got it. I'm like, whatever. We just kept trucking, and so Zach dropped his like, so maybe these bibs are important. I don't know, but we have to look at it again. You know what I mean? Who knows? But Zach dropped his bib ripped off on Mount Logan Direct, and I saw it on the ground. I went by, and I was like, boy, that'd be really fun. Like, I thought I would see him again. So I was like, boy, that'd be really funny if I picked up. And I just went, hey, man, we dropped this. But I didn't. I had gone past it already. And I was like, dang it, that would have been
I was
funny.
thinking you should have. You should have been like Zach. Yeah, dude, actually went back like a quarter mile and got your bib, and I brought it here for you.
Right.
Yeah, here's your bib.
I just thought it would have been funny, but I was already past it. I'm not looking direct. I'm like, I'm not gonna go back up that for you know what I mean, for a laugh. That's crazy. But and then on the beast, he was up ahead. I kind of closed the gap. We got on the ridge, and then it was like the ridge, I think, is the hardest part. It's flat, but it's in this thick concrete snow, so it feels like you're snowshoeing, but you're just like post hoeing. It's on this ridge, which gets a huge amount of snow drift, and then it turns into this like wet concrete, hard, like, I mean, you're post hoeing, but you're not going all the way through. But it's not hard enough that the crust like scrapes your shins, kind of stuff. But it just sucks, and it's flat, but it runs like a deer trail. It just twists and turns, and like you're doing like soccer movements on this ridge, and it's flat, and you're just like, when is this hell gonna end? It's just like it's so draining. And after like climbing and descending and like putting all this work in, you're like, this is where we die, right here on this like on this flat part for some reason. Like that is the biggest pain in the butt, is that ridge on the whole course. And then once you get across the ridge, you bomb down, and you basically got like what amounts to 4 miles of good running, 2 more miles, a gradual descendy, like maybe like it feels like a mountain bike trail, and then you get on the road, and then you kind of go down the mile and a quarter from there or whatever when you come out on the road. But that's kind of, it's at one of those points, I think Zach said it was like 10 and a half or something. I made my move. I decided we were running on the mountain bikey, wide open hardwoods, not as much rock as the other places. It's less technical, and I decided I could go around them, so I did. And then Zach was with me, and we got down to where the trail butterflies there's like 2 loops. So the long course and short course butterfly. And we came back through that where the fire was, and then there's like a little bit of a pitch. And I think Zach said his horse muscles, his adductors, cramped up. Like one cramped up, and then the other one cramped up. And he said he was sitting there like looking at like, I mean, I'm just going. And he said he looked at me. He's like, I can't move. There he goes. and then I just, I took off from there, and I was running just like, I'm just going to run as hard as I can to the finish, because I was like, I don't want to get on the road and then hear like, and then like get outgunned and lose it just on the road.
Yeah.
I know I can be fast, but I remember looking at my watch and being like, I was running a 5:30, and I was like, come on, I got to run a 5:20 or I'm going to hear the freight train.
Wow.
But like, I couldn't squeeze that 5:20. It just wasn't coming.
And Zach, how you feeling? Because I mentioned Matt where he's come from, but even you like a year ago, how's the recovery? Kind of body back in there, surgery site or Haglund's, whatever, cleared up, and are your body good?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot better. I mean, I still, I did not feel like my Haglund's held me back in that race. Like definitely like race day, like I felt good and training's been going well, but I mean, that Haglund stuff is just a bugger. Like that foot still can get cranky on me. And I still kind of have to watch it. But I'm able to train hard, and training's been going well, and the foot did really well on race day. So yeah, I'm doing like way better I was like a year ago, when Matt couldn't walk basically, and I couldn't train the way I wanted.
So that's awesome. I don't. It might just be your audio is really low. It's enough to make it out there, but it was really low. But yeah, it's incredible. I mean, whereas like Scott and True are just kind of like old dudes that are kind of taking the win out there, ages 40 and 41. Just thinking of you two, still kind of young bucks, but just coming from where you were, just all beat up. It's pretty awesome to see you both cranking again. And Zach, what's your focus at the moment? What do you have a focus in terms of like event, or are you just kind of getting your own wheels back and in your own space? And
yeah, kind of getting my wheels back. But sorry if the audio is junk. I had to plug my phone, so I can't use my like microphone or whatever.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm doing the Berkey in like not this weekend, but next weekend in Wisconsin. So I'm skate skiing a lot.
Oh, nice.
I've been doing most of my training skate skiing this winter.
Oh, cool.
And then I am running. My running's been building up, so I'll make the transition from like mostly skate skiing probably to mostly running. Right now it's a mix. It's kind of like
You got to be pretty stoked for the Berkey. I mean, there's a classic, right?
So, yeah, I'm stoked to go up and run ski the Berkey. I didn't learn to skate ski until this year, so it's kind of trial by fire. But it's kind of like couch to Berkey.
Van to Berkey.
But yeah, land to Berkey. But yeah, it's been fun. I've been training in Bend, Oregon, so they have fantastic access to Nordic skiing. So I skate ski every day, and then usually run in the afternoon or evening. So yeah, and then I'm working on qualifying for UTMB. With the surgery and everything, I ran out of all qualifiers. So I had to like figure out the new system and talk to the race people, and I know what I have to do now. They have sort of like a golden ticket entry process now. So I'm shooting to do that. So I'm looking. Haven't really publicized anything or technically registered for anything. But I'm looking at jumping in. It's not set in stone, but I'm looking at jumping in Canyon's 100K in April.
Yeah.
That serves as a UTMB, essentially UTMB golden ticket race. They don't call it that, but that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, and what's the?
If I miss there's like a few other opportunities throughout the summer to get it, but I'd like to get it sooner rather than later if my foot will allow.
Yeah, and I've looked at that a little bit. I think when I look, Scott, what's that field look like? I mean, imagine there's people that are, I mean, targeting that one as kind of their last effort. Is that, and it seems like Black Canyon was maybe a little bit deeper than Bandera. I'm assuming Canyons is going to maybe be a little bit deeper than Black Canyon. Is that a pretty deep field already for Canyons?
Yeah, it's a deep field. I feel like those Canyons and Black Canyon are the two that usually get, but it's different right now with Javelina, right? We're bringing different athletes in, I mean, Ireland that won at Javelina. I mean, that's all. I love to see that there's a 100-mile race that's now being a golden ticket type thing. But yeah, at Canyons, I think Canyons and Black Canyon are always going to be the two most difficult ticket style races to get a ticket at. So yeah, the field's deep, but I mean,
yes.
I believe in Zach all the way.
That's good. You should try to go in on only skate skiing training. You should be the only ticket person in history to go in with just skate ski training.
You can just grunt away the competition early.
Yeah. No, I'd have to. I've been running. I'm just not running my typical.
Yeah.
I'm certainly running. I'm just not. I've just kind of like been in a little different training strategy this year, than like most winters. So, yeah, I don't want to make people think I raced Frozen Snot without doing any running. I certainly did some running before Frozen Snot. So.
Yeah. Well, since people can't really hear your volume anyway, I'll be sure to just plug in my own narrative here after the interview. And I'll just be like, yeah, dude, we actually just interviewed Zach in February, and he said he actually wasn't running at all. Like the injury was like still there. And we'll put whatever we want over your lips. I forget what that's called or whatever. And we'd be like, yeah, well, he actually doesn't even run anymore. But he still just races really hard in that Zach. So,
Yeah. You could say like, you could have your thing and say, Zach, you running? And then Zach, you can't really hear him, but it would just be like, no audio. It'd go on like this for like 3 minutes, and then like the subtitle underneath it would just be like, no.
Yeah.
Like, really? And then like, not at all. None. 0.
Yeah. That's probably the best way to go. Just dub over whatever I say.
I'm just gonna put like right over that. I'm just gonna be like, none. Weekly miles 0.
Yeah. Just sat on the couch. That's all.
Yeah, I don't even walk to the fridge anymore.
Just a lot of visual training. I just envisioned it. Like
he's just been thinking about it a lot. Like it's really powerful mental training, and the coverage on ESPN is pretty fantastic. So he just watched that a lot.
Oh, you know what? Before we go or whatever, I should definitely say. So Zach and I went to check out the course on Thursday, and our friend Justin Beatty my friend Justin Beatty came with us, and when we checked out the course, Zach and Beatty were both wearing micro spikes, and I just had like a grippy shoe, and it was like frustrating, like mentally exhausting more than anything. Like I was like swearing and stuff, like exactly. He was probably like, oh my. But so
I was just running like this the whole time. I was like, I was really sound for all this vulgarity.
He's swearing like a sailor. Yeah, a couple of them. He's probably totally new to him. So, anyways.
I didn't even know half those words. I went home and Googled a lot of things.
Urban Dictionary. But yeah, so but I needed these. I was like, I need a pair of micro spikes. I spike up or stay slow, so I went and I tried to figure out, like, asking around for some, and then Zach got a hold of Reagan McCoy, and Reagan at the start line, Zach's like, hey, he sends me a text the day before. He's like, check it out, I found you a pair of micro spikes. And, yo, Reagan, a finder's fee. So Zach went all the way. He went all the way to East Bumble Nowhere to get this pair of micro spikes, just so I could kick his ass on the Frozen Snot. So that was kind of nice of him. But I would have been just taking a hike without those micro spikes. Like there was like glare ice, melt ice. Like it was just. It made such a difference. Like it was, every step was just like forward momentum. There was no slip.
Oh, so you did use those all races here? What after you got off? I've never raced
them before, and I think it's just when you're younger, you're just like, yeah, like I'm tough. I don't need those, And like now that I am older, and I'm like, what, I should wear those. It made such a huge. It made 5 minutes difference in my course time. So, and it was like.
I think it probably made more than 5 minutes. 5 minutes over your old record, but
yeah, but still mentally, like, 5 minutes over my old record, but definitely on that course, like I would have been taking a hike. It was, it would have been terrible without those things. So that was kind of cool. We get to the top of the first climb, and there's this guy up there who decides he's going to remind me of this. We go around this fire. That's where I saw the candy and threw it at death. We ran around this top of this fire, and this guy's like, there's Paul Knoll. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Paul Knoll's calves. His gastrocs are not calves, they're cows. They're just like an entire herd of livestock on the bottom of this man's leg. I've seen him kick a tree in half. I have a picture of it, actually. It's crazy. I'll have to find it. But anyways, he has these giant calves, and in February, the day before the race was February 9th, I think, and that was Paul Knoll Calf Day. So, and it's Paul, where he hikes. You're like, that guy hikes at Zindel. He hikes on the Snot course because look at his calves. When gastrocs like that, you hike the Snot course. So we went around Paul Knoll, and whoever I can't remember his name, one of Reagan's friends was at the top of this fire. And I go around the top, and this guy, like Zach's right in front of me, and I go around the fire, and this guy just decides he's gonna remind me. He just goes, like, as I'm running by, he's like, yeah, it's pretty nice of you to have friends to give you micro spikes. and I'm like, sure is, buddy. and then I look down, and then I saw that like flavored Tootsie Roll, and then it was like sitting on a rock, like on a stone cairn for the trail. So it was like, thigh high. And I was like, it was like sticking up out of this bag, like the lamp on Aladdin. And I was just like, hey, that's kind of funny. And then I went, and I threw it at Zach, and it hit him right in the back. And the other guys laughed, and I laughed, and Zach didn't laugh. He just breathed heavy.
Yeah, all business.
Well, in addition to the North Face sponsorship, Zach, maybe you can pick up a Tootsie Roll sponsorship this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have a Tootsie Roll sponsor.
I don't think anybody does, but dude, they're probably missing out.
Yep.
Yeah, if nothing else, you can throw them at your competition.
Good.
Just like
It's like Mario Kart.
Oh yeah, like dropping banana peels.
that would be funny though too. I haven't thought of that leaving an aid station.
I think Matt wants to show us the new love of his life.
What is this thing? Oh, what is the thing? I got this after the race. It came with my winnings. It's in my swag bag.
Dude, that's a cute dog.
Yeah, it is. Wow.
Huh.
What's up, Skeeter?
What a beauty.
Is that the dog's name? Is Skeeter?
Yeah, because I was gonna name him Doug, like thought would be funny. But then, I mean, come on. Does this guy look like a Doug to you?
That's a Skeeter.
That's a Skeeter, right? I was like, it's close to Valentine's Day. So I was like, Doug's best friend is Skeeter Valentine. So I was like, Skeeter Valentine. Skeeter.
Good. Congrats.
So I was right. I'm really glad that was
and you're right.
The thought process, because I was skate skiing today. I was like
skiing.
I was skate
skiing.
I was skate skiing today, and I'm at like I'm at like the fine, like it was a decently long ski, and I was in like the last 10 minutes of my ski, like trying to like V2 up a climb, and I'm just like, it's like hard, it's like a little sluggish, and I'm just like pushing, and I'm like, Skeeter, why do I know Skeeter? Like, what? Because Matt texted me today, like the first thing I saw when I woke up was like, hey, look at Skeeter, I picked him up after the race on Saturday or whatever. And I'm like, so like I'm at the end of the ski, and I'm just like, Skeeter, like, why do I know Skeeter? Like, what is Skeeter from? And then I'm like, Doug, and Patty Mayonnaise. I'm like, it's Skeeter from Doug. And I get back and I like text back. I'm like, Skeeter, Doug. Or maybe it was in the middle of this call tonight. I texted him. I was like, Skeeter, Doug. It's like, apparently I was right. I was at least somewhat right.
No, you're right. Yeah. I thought it. I was like, yeah, he knows.
I'm clueless. I'm gonna Google this afterward. I don't know Doug and I don't know Skeeter. But
it's a cartoon from like the 90s or whatever.
Dude, 90s, I was like in college. I wasn't watching cartoons. And like, he's like over 40 now. 90.
Yeah. I guess this is true.
You being Halen.
But you did like you probably are of the age that you still loved the halftime show during the Super Bowl, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good.
Absolutely.
I texted Matt after the Super Bowl, and I was like, because like that halftime show was amazing.
He asked me about a bunch of the words. He was like, "What does this mean?"
But I was like, but I didn't listen to like any of that stuff growing up, because I was like raised in a conservative Christian home and was like trying to be a good kid. And I told Matt, like after the Super Bowl, I wanted to make a meme that was like the 30-year-old Christian kid's response to the Super Bowl to the Super Bowl halftime show. Like they watch it and then they're just like, why? Like why have I been deprived all these years of this greatness? I thought it would be a funny meme, but you would have to get like just the right picture to express that emotion of what I was experiencing during the halftime show. Although not truly, because I do listen to Eminem now and like I'm a pretty big fan. So I wasn't completely like blindsided, but
we'll have to fire up the meme machine and step down into the dank laboratory.
Dude,
we'll have to do that.
Hold on. I remember last year, I think it was last year, Zach, you had, I don't know what it was, if you were on your bike, but you had a video with a hip hop song, and then you had, the horse and buggy in front of you. I don't know if it was Gangsta's Paradise.
Oh yeah, it was.
That killed.
It was weird.
So
it was
good.
Weird Al.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Well, I think I had a couple because I moved back from Colorado. It's like, well, you totally gotta take advantage of all the Amish stuff for your social media because it's just like weird to everybody else.
Yeah,
and it's
'cause they were.
everywhere. So like, I think I had one that was like Weird Al living in Amish paradise, and it was just like a buggy trucking down the street, which is just like totally normal. And then there was another one day I was like riding, I think, on the rail trail, and there was just like a little Amish boy, I think like riding like a mini horse down the rail trail. And like, and I was like, I think I turned around, like I was like, I gotta videotape this. And then I think I put that up to like, what was it? Oh, that they see me rolling, they see me riding dirty. And it's this little Amish boy riding a horse down the rail trail, a mini horse. So it's like a miniature horse or a pony, and it's just like riding dirty. And it was like, yeah,
so good.
But
dude, one of the last my favorite parts of the Olympics, I think last time was the Snoop Dogg and Kevin Hart run down to the Olympics. Dude, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I don't know whether you guys seen that, but it's totally worth going back and watching those.
But I had a thought after the Super Bowl. I was like, I feel like growing up, it was always like, man, that halftime show was garbage. Like that halftime show wasn't very good. And
so you're saying maybe that's the equivalent of garbage?
Now that I'm 33 and it was Eminem and Snoop Dogg and all those, and it was like a blast from your childhood, and it was amazing. I was like, maybe all these years we were just too young. Like maybe all the kids that were like 15 thought that halftime show was garbage, but maybe the halftime show is just designed for people who are like ages, like, I don't know, like 30 to 45, 50. Like, it's just like, we were just too far behind. Maybe
probably,
all the halftime
right? I mean, that's
shows
probably
have
the
actually been
demographic
amazing.
It's funny that you say that because I had the exact same thought. I was just like after the Super Bowl, I was just like, that was amazing. And I was just like, it seems like there's been a bunch of really good shows lately. And then I thought, as a kid, I thought they always sucked. And my parents would be like, those suck. And I would be like, those jokes terrible. And like, I've been like, man, the last couple ones were really good. And that one was especially good. I had the same exact thought. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. I didn't say it out loud though, because I was like, it's probably just me. No one else is thinking this. But I'm glad we got here tonight to get that out.
Dude, that stadium erupted though.
It did, and I hope it wasn't fabricated. I hope it wasn't just like added fake.
Don't say that. Don't plant that seed in my head. No, that was legit.
Well, no, I want to believe that it was real because I was like, I watched it like with my family, and I heard that and was like, I think that was well received. Like, which is like a very nerdy way of saying that.
Everybody likes it.
That's how you say it in the conservative Christian household, Lancaster County.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't swear, so I had to.
I think that was very well received. Guys.
Yeah, a good program they put forward there.
Good.
Yeah, but all these years I was probably just in the wrong time, just the wrong phase of the wrong generation.
You're getting into the golden years now.
Yeah, maybe they're right. Life really just does get better.
Welcome to it.
Steering that ship towards retirement.
Oh boy.
Well, boys, thanks for staying on and bantering. Matrix Lasagna, awesome to see you back and in your flow. Zach, I'm glad you're back as well. Good looking, Berkey. I'll be excited to see how Canyons plays out. And Scott, if not, sometime.
Technically, I would still need to register.
But technicalities.
I was like, guys, but that's my thought process. I have some emails to write, but I have been communicating. It's part.
I'll try to go back and clip that part out of the segment here.
it's part of the UTMB World Series, and I have been in touch with them, and they know and they're like, okay, just tell us which race you're going to run. So
if it were me, I would probably go ahead and allow you in at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, and there's also the chance that I'd be training and be like, okay, I think maybe I should shoot for something else instead. But like, so far that is my thought process. So yeah,
it's good. I think that makes sense on skate ski training. So I think that's outstanding.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, it's like,
yeah,
California canyons, like hot canyons. It makes total sense.
And then Scott, I'll look forward to seeing some of your stuff in between, and then see you out there. I'll be crewing for Ellie, so
nice.
Hello in person.
Cool. Good to meet y'all.
Yeah. All right,
my
fellas.
dog's gonna pee on the floor, so I gotta get going.
Yeah,
With a name
that's
like
gotta wake
Skeeter,
up. That's
if your name's Skeeter,
that's
isn't that
gotta
what
wake
you're
up at
supposed to do?
4:00 to skin. So we gotta let him go.
I think you're supposed to pee on the floor if
See
your
you
name's
guys.
Skeeter. Yeah. All right.
See ya.
All right, see you guys.
All right, so thanks. Those some of you are still out there with us. That episode went long. I had a good time bantering with everybody. So thanks for sticking it out. Thanks for the support. And I will catch you next week. Next week up, I think I am connecting with Jeff Browning, an old friend that I've stayed in contact with. So I'm excited for that conversation next week. And for those of you who are going to tune in, I will catch you then. All right. See ya.